Chiron is going to be entering Taurus for the very first time on June 19th in 2026. This is the initial taste of this new energy that we are getting, a preview of what's to come around themes, around worth, around money, body, and resources. And we're going to be working with this energy pretty much up until 2034. So, a pretty long time. Chiron will be going retrograde this year back into the sign of Aries. So this is just the initial initiation. And there is more to come, and there is still an old story block to finish and work through. And today we are going to be talking about that. What does Chiron mean as an archetype? What does Taurus mean? And what does Chiron in Taurus mean? And the shift from Aries into Taurus. And then we're also going to have a whole section where we're going to talk about horoscopes so you know what it means for your sign. And I am joined by Liv from Combust Astrology. Hey, thank you for being here with me.
Good morning, my time. I am really happy to be here, actually. Thank you for deciding to do this. I love the idea, and I can't wait to get started.
Yeah, I usually horoscopes for me are just so much more fun if I'm doing with another person. And I hope if for everyone watching, this is true as well. I think there's just so much more that can be said if you're not just having one brain, but two brains coming together and talking about this. And we both have Mercury ruled moons, so I hope you're gonna get all the information that you need. And now let me say a bit more about the timeline, right? So on June 19th is when we get the initial ingress. So this is happening very soon. And then on August 3rd, Chiron is stationing retrograde and is going to be moving back into the sign of Aries on September 17th. So we're getting a few months of this energy this year. And then on April 14th of 2027, interesting date, April 14th this year was the day that Saturn moved into the sign of Aries. So,
Yeah.
and next April 14th, we're getting Chiron moving into the sign of Taurus. So, yes. And then really like until July 19th, 2033. Again, then there's going to be a brief back and forth between Gemini and Taurus, and it's really till 2034. And that's also around the time that Uranus is going to change into the next sign. So we're having this period of, well, Uranus and Chiron not really being together, right? There could have been a chance that both of them would have been together in the
Hmm.
sign of Taurus, but they're not. But this makes sense because Chiron orbits in between Saturn and Uranus. So it makes sense that it's always going to be around both of them in a nearby way.
Yeah, I look forward to this because of the fact that this summer, getting the energy of Uranus, Pluto, Jupiter, the South Node, all of this comes together for this transit, and that's something that I can't wait to really like. I don't want to say hype up, but very much highlight how unique this summer is for all of us, that we get to experience that. And then when it goes back into it next year, what you can learn from this summer. So that way, when you actually dive into the transit fully, you're kind of prepared.
Yes, I agree. I mean, we've been having so many major transits this year specifically, and
Hmm.
most of the outer planets are fully ingressed into their respective signs. Like we fully have Uranus in Gemini, we fully have Neptune in Aries, well, Pluto already since last year, but pretty much Pluto fully in Aquarius. So there is a new collective field. And for me, Chiron also adding to that now over this year and next year is very much part of the global shift, I would say. And then also how it's going to interact with the other planets. There's going to be some interesting things. I'm obviously that is into the future, and I don't want to future trip too much because we want to focus on the present moment. But I'm very curious about the times when Saturn will also ingress into Taurus, and we're going to have Saturn and Chiron both together in the sign of Taurus, especially after this super upheaving Uranus and Taurus years.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't miss that at all. I've embraced Uranus and Gemini as if it was a part of me. And I don't want to think about Uranus and Taurus. I'm good. However, I will say Chiron entering Taurus is bittersweet just for the fact that, you know, It almost feels like it's going to be a little bit of a saga of what wasn't fully finished
Mm,
that was swept under the rug, but it is what it is. Um, but speaking of Chiron, if you'd like, I can dive into kind of like the myth and everything about it.
yes, let's do that.
So, the origin of Chiron, and I'll be reading this just to make sure people are aware. So, Chiron was born of Titan Cronus, a sea nymph, Philaria, and he was abandoned by both parents at birth. Rejection of otherness are core to the wound. And whenever I think of just even the history of Chiron, I always look at it that to understand Chiron, you got to think about how Oranos, as you would say, and Gaia essentially had their situation. And the whole myth behind how Lilith is born out of the phallus of um, Oranos and all of the titans that were created that weren't exactly desired. So I always see that Chiron itself comes from what isn't necessarily incorporated into what it is that we want. Like the wound itself comes from being struck by an arrow in the Achilles, and it's this constant need to try and fix that. That's huge because when you look at your Chiron as your superpower, the wound becomes that gift that as you go older in your days of living, as you grow older, you start to realize that the thing that I've been so afraid of, like that's actually what gives me my thing. And, you know, I've read in some texts that Chiron is very much associated to the idea of Jupiter because you're always trying to grow through what it
Hmm.
is that, you're living in. But in every big major historical myth, it seems that the Achilles seems to be the biggest point where you can actually lose your power. So Hercules and Jason, for instance, you're hindered. Moving forward is something that feels so natural to everyone. And especially right now with Saturn in Aries, not being able to move forward definitely makes me very mad. I don't know about you, but it really pisses me off not being able to do what I want. So I think that Chiron is like a really long transit of Saturn that's like at a minor scale. And then it begins to feel like it's Jupiter because you've been building into it for the first several years of your life until it starts to just like, wow, this is a big part of me. All right,
Yeah, I think.
let's, oh, go
Well,
ahead.
I just want to say that, like we say Chiron, but like the full name technically is like Chiron the Wound Healer. So there is a healing component to this asteroid and this placement, if you have it in your chart, wherever you have it in your chart, where it is something about like the journey of, because what does Chiron do? He goes to study. So there is this whole component of being on a healing journey, going studying, learning about the wound, like learning what it takes to heal, maybe not being able to fully heal it yourself, but like through that journey, finding wisdom in helping others, that help not go through that pain or
Mhm.
something. Like I feel like that's a lot of the Chiron journey and what a lot of people experience when they have that placement in their chart, like wherever it's sitting in your chart. Obviously Chiron, unless you're having your Chiron return in Taurus,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
very much possible. That's going to be if you're around the ages of 50. Then we're going to feel this on a collective level just as much as we have been feeling Chiron and Aries on a collective level as well, and sometimes more or less present through how it got aspected and how much present it was on maybe like a new moon or a full moon or another transit. So yes,
So let's actually dive in a little bit about that sign that it's moving into.
yes,
We will be entering Taurus. As a Taurus rising, I feel like it's my duty to explain thoroughly
yes,
how
please.
much Venus does not care. That is something that I really want to state. Venus does not care because it intuitively believes that it has. So at times I come across people fully confused about a Taurus person, and I tell them it's very simple. If they care about you, you will have great conversations. If they don't, They will not. And it really stems from that. The fixed nature of Taurus being ruled by Venus is the idea that I am the sole censor of everything that I need. It establishes the need for nothing, really. But when it does need that, it would go to the polarity of Scorpio. So the Venus itself is like, I'm safe, I'm secure, I have every material possession that I might need, and I do everything on my own timeline. And I think that's something that is also unique to Venus being Taurus, because following Aries, it's just being patient. It's understood that I don't need to burn myself thin for things in the moment and not being able to actually like take my time, right? That's what Uranus and Taurus taught us. The things that we've been patient about, that we've been lackluster about, it's actually not a good idea to be that way. You actually do want to push yourself and you do want to dive into everything, right? The loyalty aspects that sometimes get attributed to Taurus, I think Venus is very much about the enjoyment of the endurance of whatever it is that you're doing. So if something does not align with the values of Venus, you're not going to see that Taurus person stay there. And if you start looking at that Taurus energy from that point of view, Venus becomes so simple to understand. It's so much about like, do I like it? Yes or no? Well, then I want to have it. And if I can't have it, why is it around me? Right. So I'm going to dive into the core wound. And after that, we can talk some more about how this wound shows up. And, feel free to cut me in and out. But the healing path, we can kind of take a look at the generations that are experiencing it. And yeah, we'll start the horoscopes after.
That's true.
Chiron and Taurus. The wound lives in the body, the worth, and survival. It really is asking yourself, do I have the value that I perceive to have or I display? Any Chiron that is in the earth sign fundamentally is certified and ready for it, whether it's Virgo or Capricorn. I always find that they probably work on their Chiron a lot quicker than all of the other Chirons. Air signs will be aware, fire signs will very much be, I think they're second to last. I think water signs are the last ones, but the fire signs will find a way to like pump fake to make sure that they don't seem like they don't know, try to prove their worth about it. But a wound of self-value. And the quote is, I am not worthy of love, pleasure, abundance, rest, or security just as I am. That is the core part of this wound. The I am being the initial energy of your root chakra or Aries going into the I have, or the feeling that you hold within yourself means that you don't really know if what you say is true. You don't really know if your identity really shows itself that way. And it's often formed around early experiences in your childhood, instability, scarcity mentality. Sometimes I like to add a little bit of like math to astrology, and I always look at anything that stems from a lack of touch psychologically will lead to issues of Venus. So Chiron and Taurus is going to be something that it's like you don't get any hugs, you don't get love or kisses.
Mm.
That Venus, even if it's like a Libra Venus, becomes socially awkward because it's not accustomed to it. So Chiron and Taurus, very much like that, feels like it's like a derivative of not getting this love, this consideration. And being that Taurus rules the throat, having a Chiron and Taurus makes it so these people don't feel like they can speak up, right? The throat and speaking, it comes before the third house, meaning Gemini, right? And when you aren't able to actually speak up, no one's going to hear what you think about. And this becomes a very interesting, like, if you can visualize it with me before I throw up the chart. If your 12th house is your subconscious, your first house is how you show yourself in terms of who you are. And the second house is what would come out of your throat. then you'd be getting information mentally. It would be sitting here and you'd never speak it out with your third house. So seeing where that Chiron is as well, I would correlate it to looking at seeing how your Mercury gets to show itself. It's a really huge thing. And last but not least, in evolutionary astrology, at least, it looks at past lives where you have themes of poverty or you feel like you're less, maybe like a lower caste, depending on where you are, if you believe in reincarnation, and just not feeling like you really are the way that you are.
Yeah, I want to add that, the exaltation of the moon is in the sign of Taurus, and the moon is so much about the environment we grew up in. And when I think of Taurus, being the domicile of Venus and the exaltation of the moon, there's actually no fall in the sign of Taurus.
Yeah,
Um,
of
which
course, we're
would
the best.
yeah. I mean, it's a conversation in itself why that is, but if we look at Taurus from that perspective, for me, it's really like the earth body. And when we look at Earth, and we look at plants, which I often just, I don't know, associate with Taurus, right? Because it's like such a
Hmm.
Venusian thing. But it's also like, if a flower is wilting, you're gonna look at which environment you have to place the flower in so it blooms. Because oftentimes it's not the other things that are dooming it, it's the environment that is wrong. Maybe it's not getting enough sunlight. Maybe it's not getting enough water. Maybe the neighbors around the flower are not good for it. And so
Hmm.
for me, like, Chiron and Taurus, I think, is going to like emphasize this wounds around where we didn't have the right environment when we grew up and we couldn't bloom. Where
Hmm.
could you not bloom? I think that's very much going to be an emphasis when Chiron and Taurus, yeah, chimes in our charts. And we're obviously going to talk about like where exactly that is happening in each area. But I think just like as a visual thing,
Hmm.
thinking about that might be super helpful and useful.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I'm gonna throw up the Astro Gold so that I can kind of show because I want to do like a visual activity so people are able to
Yes.
actually grasp this. So on my screen, you're able to see the chart. I removed all the planets besides Chiron, and I kind of wanted to illustrate this point. When you look at the wound itself, we need to consider polarity. In astrology, if you're going to be learning, just looking at the sign itself is not enough. You want to look at the sign opposite and square to it, right? It's what makes reading amazing when you are actually looking at what someone's got going on. So when I look at Chiron here, I think of, well, the opposite of Taurus is Scorpio, the square is Leo, and the other square is Aquarius, focusing on the idea of as above, so below, you
Mhm.
get the concept of yin and yang, which is essentially masculine versus feminine, right? Because of the fact that we are associating this core issue of the wound, it doesn't always just show itself as the unworthiness, as a difficulty to receive, as having a disconnect from your body with the sensuality of Taurus, or suppressing your voice. It can show itself in the masculine opposite of Scorpio, which would be having wounds about money, having a issue with earning your worth, sabotaging your security, and over attachment. And I think these show themselves highly in the squares of maybe earning your worth feels hard because the Aquarius energy of this aspect, makes you feel like there's no reason that I should stick out. Maybe the money wounds quite literally come from the fact that you are so worried about losing that security that you're just fighting for all of it. But then that creates your self-sabotage because you might become over attached with how something is. So this Chiron transit could quite literally, it could expose it how you internalize the value of something and then completely 360 it and say, okay, I'm gonna make you not have money anymore because what do you really, who are you really without that money? Or maybe I'm gonna make your hair fall out for a little bit or your hair thin, God forbid. I actually don't wish that on any
God
of my current
forbid.
people, but it's like maybe you are realizing how you're not taking care of your health because of the fact that you're not trying to practice these things. So I'm gonna dive into what I think are some really good tools for trying to heal going through this. And the first one would be understanding that writing affirmations implants things in your subconscious, but looking in front of a mirror and actually saying these things to yourself really goes a long way because then that helps you internalize who you really are. And oftentimes I see my wife, she wakes up and she tells herself what I tell her all the time, which is that you are so gorgeous. But she does that for herself because it doesn't matter how much I say it to her, it has to be internalized for her first, or it'll never be true. And I think that's where that square to the Leo, you could find energy of people. They could be hot for all it's worth, but then they kind of have an ugly personality. And,
Mhm.
that's where the Taurus energy is true. It's like you can be beautiful, but then you can do very ugly things, right? Subjectively and all that. But building a healthy relationship with how you see money is also important because then you're not so tied up to the dollar amount, but rather towards the energy of what it is that you're doing. The work that you do can apply to that a lot because, it's more than just somatic activities, but it's like if I'm putting it into the collective, like what we're doing to try and help and teach, I feel better about myself by doing that versus, it's not to say you do a job that you don't like, that's horrible, but it's like, what else do you do that makes you feel like you're worth living? Because otherwise, if we remove money tomorrow and whatever it is that you're doing will cover your bills, would you still do it? And that is like a huge thing that this entire transit will bring, which essentially makes you raise your voice to actually bring out issues that you might have. Because Venus is everything. I love food. I love art. I love sleep. God, I love sleep. I enjoy taking my time with my own needs. Now, especially Uranus and Taurus definitely taught me that because after living that lifestyle, I don't miss it. And ultimately, that creates the healing that we all need. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a, I think resources is something that a lot of people usually would think, okay, money, and I'm like, yes, sure, that's a resource. But I think there's so many other resources, and especially if we go and think about, the second house that maybe like has a bit of a correlation to Taurus, there is um not everybody's going to have their second house in Taurus. Many people are going to have it in other signs. And it's like maybe your resource is that you have a lot of knowledge with which you can make money or it can get you connections, right? Like that is a huge resource. Knowing how to network is a huge resource. Knowing how to create something with your hands is a huge resource. And I think that is also what Chiron and Taurus is going to make a bit more obvious for you to like see, hey, don't just think about money. Like, don't think just about monetary things as your only resource. There's so many things. People come to, I don't know, these luxury cars or whatever, like through so many different things, not even maybe through themselves. And having connections is a huge resource in and of itself. So I think rethinking that is, I mean, Uranus and Taurus already kind of definitely has been doing that. I think Chiron is maybe just gonna make you a bit more aware of where you have been hindered by
Mhm.
these limiting beliefs. And it's really, for me, Taurus is, I mean, as you kind of said, right? Like you can do all the affirmations you want. If you don't believe it in your body, like your body doesn't believe it, your cells don't believe it, there's like you can't fake it. You can't fake it. And Taurus is just like making this blatantly obvious. Like even right now, Mars is in Taurus. It's like you cannot lie.
Yeah.
Your body cannot lie.
No.
Um, like you can lie, you can tell things, but your body cannot. It's gonna give you all the warning signals. And we're also this transit is happening when we're gonna have Neptune and Saturn Aries. There's a lot
Mhm.
of like burnout potential with both of these in Aries. So we have to be very, very aware. Otherwise, you're quickly gonna land in burnout mode. And then it's very hard to create, to make things, to make an ends meet. Certainly when we were talking in the yearly overview about Chiron and Taurus. I didn't personally do so much research, but I know we talked about how in previous periods where Chiron was in Taurus, it often
Hmm.
coincided with global periods of yeah, financial
Right.
instability
Yeah.
and recession, which I'm not surprised we're kind of like already hitting the mark right now.
Yeah.
It's not like that new. I think Chiron Taurus is just gonna like make it a lot more obvious.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think that we'll see a reason for why it is that Taurus is important to us. And I think after all the disruptions of that Uranus and Taurus, especially like we talked about in the Uranus episode, we will come to find, you know what? At the end of the day, I really do just need a place to sleep, some food, and a great way to clean myself, and then everything else is in the beauty of what our Mother Earth gives us.
Foraging.
Foraging.
Yeah, but definitely like during the Uranus and Taurus years. I don't know if it was just Uranus, but I certainly actually it was during the Jupiter and Taurus years when I
Yeah.
really got into like foraging and taking care and like I definitely feel very secure or a lot more secure than maybe a few other people that I know what I can eat in the wilderness. Like I'm by no means an expert, but I know the plants around me. I have a community garden. I have my
Mhm.
own garden at a balcony. Sure, it's not gonna like I'm not gonna survive off of it for a year,
Yeah.
but just knowing that I have the ability to grow my own food in these unstable times gives me a lot more security. That's Taurus.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
Taurus, like being able to create your own things. People building a house. I don't know how to do that, but being able to
Hmm.
build your shelter, these are things that are going to be important. And
Huge.
certainly when Saturn moves into Taurus, then there's a whole conversation around, the consequences of the actions that we cannot unsee anymore.
Yeah, yeah. I like the way you put that. I've considered like doing a series where I go back and just trying to review how a transit felt in that period of time for people as a way to help them. And that was definitely one of them to think about, wow, I'm fully aware of my body being a Taurus rising after that transit.
After Jupiter.
After Jupiter, yeah, because I
Yeah.
overindulge. I overindulge like crazy. But like I got to see how that overindulgence kind of showed itself. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're also gonna, the brief segment you made before where you were also talking about the squares, we're like kind of getting them. I think Jupiter is gonna square Chiron. Like that
Yeah.
is gonna happen. Yeah, like that's gonna
Yeah.
happen over the summer. That's gonna be a very interesting transit, I would say, to look out for. Um Mars square to Chiron, I think, as well.
Yeah.
And then that's not gonna happen this year, I think, but Pluto, like Chiron to Pluto square from Taurus to Aquarius. So
Yeah.
that's some tough cookies that we're gonna face.
Definitely are. Every day is a tough cookie. All we can do is eat with milk. Um, but why don't we hop into the risings?
Yes, let's start doing that. Unless you have anything else to mention of the like archetypal spheres.
Uh, Other than sleep, no. Sleep does so much for us that it
Sleep is
is the
so
ultimate
important.
medicine if you don't need medicine anyway.
Yes, get your 8 hours of sleep.
Yeah. All right, let me go ahead and prop and pull this back on screen, and I will go ahead and um, dive in. So, oh, I'm just gonna start at Aries because that's, the usual. And I thought it'd be really cool to be as Uranus as possible and just go backwards. So we'd start at Aries and then we'd immediately go to Pisces because everyone expects us to go this way, right?
Ooh,
But
okay.
let's get started. So I'll first cover the actual house placement, and then I'm going to pull up the other planets that are going to be here as well. And mostly the major ones. When we do get to the Mars stuff, if you'd like to cover that, I'll bring that up as well. But I'd like to cover the outers and how that also affects the Chiron part of
Yeah,
it.
let's do that. Yeah, these horoscopes are gonna be a bit more in depth. Like, we're not just gonna like skim over it and tell you the basics. Like, we're definitely gonna have a conversation. So,
Yeah.
hopefully, this is gonna be useful for you guys, not just for this year, like also for a bit of a longer period of time.
Yeah. So the base things that Aries risings are going to go over are that we're addressing your self-worth even more so. It's almost like the intro that we did was kind of like for you guys
For
because,
real.
um, we covered so much of Venus, essentially like the second house, that we're going to see Chiron, align with that. I also want to predispose the colors I use do not correlate to elements or the houses. I just use random colors to make like something really stick out. So the second house, right? Values, who you are, everything that we pretty much covered, but we're going to show endurance, right? Why is this the case? Chiron in Taurus is already saying that you really don't have it together the way you should. And I don't blame you because Uranus quite literally just decimated your second house for like an eon for what it feels like, right? But understanding that it's more than just that one planet, what else is going on? Jupiter, right now, at the time of the recording, is in Cancer, so it's been trying to heal the issues of home. Jupiter will, however, be sitting in the fifth house when this transit happens, along with the north and south node, and also Mars will be here as well. While that is more so for the summer, it's important to realize that ego is a huge thing, right? Ego is already being addressed with Saturn in your first house. Ego is already being inspired by Neptune in your first house. And the desire to be more than what you are is being constantly reminded to you after Saturn, that had just finished decimating your 12th house, is now making you feel like you have to be so driven and purposeful. And the Saturn was reminding you that we just did all that work. Please don't fuck it up by really rushing yourself, because this is about the long game, right? And Chiron needs to do what it does here to make sure that you realize we need to not have a rush mentality, and we need to have a mentality around saving, having good long-term decisions, because Pluto is essentially going to put you in the right place with the right people so that way you are able to connect with the people that you need, right? Um, Jupiter transiting your fifth house will also make it so this is an amazing time. But don't let it become a competition because I do think that square between the Jupiter that's coming up and your second house could be like, look at what they got. Look what they got. What do I have? Right? But it's just not your season right now to be looking at that, you know? What do you think?
Yes, Aries, dear Aries. Having both like Neptune and Saturn sitting in your first house is certainly like a big energy. I mean, Pisces has been through it, and like now you're in it. And I think there's just this huge emphasis on like how you're perceiving yourself. I feel like almost there's like a big urge to like completely shift identities, or there has been an
Mhm.
urge to completely shift identities, or like a loss of like maybe there was like a stable idea of like, oh, this is kind of who I am, and now it's like, who the fuck am I even? How do people perceive me? How do I perceive myself? It's all kind of illusory.
Mhm.
And that is pretty big. I think that's a pretty big chapter in and of itself. And then, Aries, Saturn, I feel like is kind of almost like stifling that. Like there's an
Mhm.
urge to be like, oh yeah, like okay, I have this new notion and this is how I want to like express myself. But then
Mhm.
it's like, yeah, like I can't like fully go there. I don't yet fully feel safe. And that's that Chiron. That's like definitely gonna Chiron is gonna chime in and is gonna be like, identity shifts take time.
Hmm.
You're gonna
Yeah.
have to have a lot of I mean, Saturn in Aries is patience in and of itself.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like the annoying part of learning to be patient, where you wanted to do the super cool trick, but now you're in the hospital and now you have to learn to like walk again, like taking baby steps. And that's definitely both like Saturn being in your first house and then Chiron also going into your second house. Um, yeah, I think Jupiter, like that Jupiter square, as you told as well, it's like that's gonna be a fun one. Like you're gonna have a fun summer for sure. Like Jupiter in the fifth is a super sexy transit because it's trining your first house. And at the same time, I'm also like, don't go overboard, especially when Mars, your ruler, is there. Like it's so easy to go overboard and again have this accident where then you're like, okay, now I'm in the hospital and now like who's gonna pay the bills?
Hmm.
Like fuck. So that is definitely a bit of like the cautionary tale here that I would say Pluto being activated with the other square even more so next year. I think it's your environment dictates where you go, and
Hmm.
if you surround yourself with the right people, they can certainly enhance your own resources or they can diminish them, and you're
Hmm.
gonna find that out. And you kind of have to like fuck around and find out, to be completely honest, in that regard.
I love that. I really do think the Jupiter and the Pluto, as you said, like life is meant to be lived. And I love a good chaotic afternoon because it adds to character development. It adds to the plot of who you are. And I think that, you know, people are gonna fuck around and find out you are the shit. Like you are the person. And when Jupiter comes in that fifth house, I like that you mentioned sexy because I do think it makes you feel so whole in yourself. Like I look great. Okay. My hair is amazing. My skin is immaculate. My teeth are pearly white. And I just feel like I'm the best. And if you're not, if you don't feel that, that's Chiron. And for me, I'm just like, if I close my eyes and I try to envision the planets as like actual people and I hear them, I don't have psychosis, but I hear them. And so when I think of Pluto and Aquarius, I think of an old grandfather at the top of the hill looking down at me being like, what are you doing? Like, this is not for you. I really do envision myself at different ages when I go through a period to look at a more mature version of myself, being like, hey, this is me when you get here, but we got to get here. So when I think of Jupiter in Leo, I'm thinking six pack Liv that just finished his bodybuilding competition, absolutely skinny, like European cigarette smoking, like lifestyle, having no care in the world, right? Hair just luscious, everything done, and it's looking at me right now and it's saying, are you doing the things in your day to day to actually look like me? Right. And for that Pluto, it's like, are you around the people in your life right now that makes you feel this way? Because the opposite of that Taurus is what? It's Scorpio. Are the relationships that you have actually growing you? Are they transforming you? Or is it like you got to stay this way because if you go left, someone's going to be like, why are you going that way? And if you go right, then it's going to be like, I thought you wanted to do this. Like, do you just have like gossip and bickering and all these things? Because the one thing we didn't talk about in aspect, which is Uranus, is like shit's going to be said. And this is a great time to have this transit because as things get said and brought up, you realize, especially as the nodes transfer over, hey, I should be doing what it is that fuels my soul with the right people because I am not going to be seen for who I am otherwise. And I'm going to move this over so that I can be fully seen. But I really think it's important to consider that as the nodes get here, you are extremely important with this timeline. That's why I started off with Aries and then went the other way because I wanted you guys to be first. With Saturn being in your first house, it's important that you take this role because once Saturn leaves a few years from now, where is it going to be? in your second house. And what's going to be left in your first? Neptune. Neptune is going to be sitting in that first house, and you guys are going to be the ones actually making change in this world that we are walking into. It's important that you see that because without you guys, we are not going to get the full feeling of this next step of what I think is like humanity. But hopefully we make it by then.
Yes, yes. Again, interesting summer for you, Aries. I think there's a Again, I think there's just like a huge identity shift and even an identity crisis that a lot of you have been going through. And it's not really going to stop anytime soon. I think Jupiter and Leo in the fifth house can make it seem like it's a fun thing, which is good, which is good in the beginning. And at the same time, I just have a bit of this worry with like Chiron being the second, where you're maybe going to feel like, oh, okay, but what can I actually offer? Like maybe I
Mhm.
look good, maybe I feel amazing, que bonita. But then like I don't feel worthy what I actually have to offer the world, the people around me. And that's like kind of really going to be striking. And I think that's also goes into what you said. It's like, don't try to impress the wrong crowds that are not going to lead you anywhere. Like don't try to be all flashy just for the sake of seeming like, oh, I'm living this lifestyle which I actually, I don't know, can't afford, don't actually
Mhm.
really care about if money even weren't on the table or an issue. I think that's a bit of like the question that I would pose this summer. And still also do have fun. Like I'm by no means I'm like here telling you to
Yeah.
not have fun at all. It's, Jupiter in the fifth is definitely amazing to meet meet people, flirt with them. I don't know, meet
Hmm.
people in and acquaintances, there's gonna be a whole opposition, right, with Jupiter and Pluto. So, yeah, it's basically activating like the whole um fixed cross is happening across your 11th, second, sixth, and eighth house. And that for me is a lot about the interplay, about the power dynamics we have with other people, they have with
Hmm.
us. What do we gain from them? What do they give to us? And not even in a like, ooh, like I have to like watch over everything type of way, but just is like it's real, like we interact with people to gain something out of them if we want to admit this or not. Like there is always a written or unwritten rules, conscious or subconsciously, there is always something around like give and take. And that is kind of being very much activated for you. And like, are you doing this in an honest way? Or are you doing
Yeah.
it in a way to get something for the sake of getting something, which might not be true for yourself or where you want to go? And that's okay because Saturn and Neptune are making it a bit hard to fully see clearly
Yeah.
of where you even want to go right now.
Yeah, that square between Jupiter and the Chiron are gonna be like, who's the real hedonists and who are just playing coy, right? And I think that's important to bring out because hedonism, my perspective is like it's just when you get bored and you're depressed, like when you literally can't do anything about your circumstances and you have the ability to avoid it. So after Uranus is just bulldoze through your second house, if Saturn didn't iron out some stuff that you wanted to avoid, right, with the escapism, then Chiron's going to be like, well, you can't even afford it anyway. So good luck. You're actually going to have to sit with yourself and refine yourself. And when I covered the Saturn transits, I was like, for you guys, it's about realizing what hasn't been working will not actually become easier with the people that it doesn't work with because your seventh house is Libra. So that Venus energy is like, you probably can't even sustain that lifestyle anymore. And so these people are going to leave you because they're like, well, if I met you because you look this way and you can't afford $80 skin cream that maybe or $80 blush. I don't know the prices of these things, but if you can't afford that, or you can't afford the newest kicks because they're like $300 now and life is insane, like I'm just gonna leave you. And so it's gonna actually like ask you to really authentically be this Leo Jupiter, so that way it comes back to showing yourself whole, right? And that's what's amazing about it. But I think that's all I really have to say with Aries risings. Do you have anything else?
Yeah, I think it's just one small thing to
Mhm.
close it off. I think it's just so interesting because for me, Aries, usually a sign w that like really wants to authentically be themselves, but now like Neptune and Saturn are just making it so
Yeah.
confusing to
Yeah.
do so.
Yeah.
So yeah, like it's in there, but it's about like I think it's about these onion layers that you're peeling back, where it's like,
Mhm.
okay, there's another layer, and it's not that you're not yourself anymore, but it's just about rediscovering the way that you thought is the only way that you can be.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's
100%.
my closing words for you, Aries. And I hope you have a lovely transit, and we're gonna leave you with that.
All right, let's jump into Pisces.
Pisces.
My delirious, bug-eyed people. No, just kidding. My fairies of the netherworld. I know so many Pisces rising people, and I think you guys are such amazing human beings that this world does not deserve. But I also think you guys run yourselves crazy. So this Chiron and Taurus, I got some news for you. So, baseline information. Chiron moves to your third house, where we see the wounds circulate around your communication, your way of thinking, and also the fact of if you believe what you say matters. Whether or not you feel like you were silenced about this, and especially, we didn't mention this for for the Aries people, but they're tough anyway, so they don't need this. But it's like if you're having your Chiron return, realize that these are things that what we're speaking about, you might already be aware of because it's within you and you're working to fix that, right? So your own sense of worth comes from what you say. And oftentimes, if you don't feel like you're worth it, you're just not even going to say anything. So the way that we're going to work through this is showing you that speech. And, we're going to show you the medicine that you need, you already have within yourself. And side note, we're both standing. I just thought I'd say that. I might bounce
Yeah.
because,
We shifted our gears.
yeah, we shifted our gear for you. Um, I might bounce because this is so fun and I feel like I've unlocked a new hidden trait. All right. So, what do we got with being a Pisces rising? We have Saturn, Neptune in your second house. So, you guys are learning the lesson that Aries risings are about too soon. And you guys are being taught right now that there's no rush in trying to get to the outcome of your desires. And oftentimes, it's like, do you even have something that you desire that much anyway? Right? Pluto and the North Node sitting in your 12th house are going to sit there and they're going to look at you and say, do you actually know what you are? Do you know how capable you are? And that's why for you guys, I really love what Jupiter does in this transit because Jupiter's like, listen, what we do is amazing. Our day-to-day life is amazing. People would want to be you, Pisces rising. But do you believe that for yourself? And Chiron and its infinite wisdom of, hey, you should actually speak up on this. Hey, you shouldn't just let this go. Hey, you shouldn't just idle and sit on this. Why? Because the ninth house being Scorpio, I know you guys have like second, third, fourth string of nets of what it is you think you have to do. And that's why people love you. That seventh house energy is so much about, I know what I have to do. So that way people are, no, you don't need to do that type of stuff anymore. It's very much unnecessary. And that fourth house that comes in and it says, if you're not going to do it, I'll give you reasons to do it, you know? So for your transit, I really sit with it and I say to myself, the way that you get through these next 2.5 years, especially with Saturn going through here, is to be able to speak up and to allow what's in front of you to not delegate what has to happen in your life. Yeah.
Yeah, the third house. I mean, the third house for me is like the fish tank environment. It's like not your immediate house, but it's everything that is happening around you. And
Hmm.
that's why it's also associated with neighborhoods, your siblings. But also, I guess our thoughts and the way we communicate is an extension of our body, like Taurus being the body. And then, like, we kind of go into the realm of Gemini, and it's like it's the thoughts and what we think is less feasible than the body. And yet, they're both like super interconnected and interlinked, and they function together because oftentimes what you think is actually first your body signaling what it feels, or it has an ache, or there's, like the things that are stored in the body. I think that's going to be a huge, huge lesson for you with Chiron moving through that third house and just like making you even more aware. We had this whole segment in the beginning where we were talking about how when a plant is not growing, you put it in the right environment so it can do so. And I think that's going to be a big, big, big thing for you to realize, like, am I in the right environment that is conducive to my growth? Can I bloom here, or do I need to move away to a place where I feel more secure and there's more sunshine and people that are actually watering me and being good for me in my evolution. I think that's going to be really, really huge. Yeah, that's what's coming to my mind right now. And then, the fact that just Uranus is sitting in your fourth house, which is like the base, and you're like kind of being shook up
Hmm.
from the ground up. I
Hmm.
feel like, if there is an urge to move, like listen to that because there's probably like some realness in like going to a place that actually genuinely feels more benefiting from you, where the soil is better, where the grass is really actually greener.
Yeah.
Yes, like if your intuition is telling you that, I would listen to that in a general way. And there's also, you've been going with like Neptune and Saturn being in your first house over the last few years. Like that has been a lot. You've been through a lot. And now it's like going in your second house, you're having new thoughts around, okay, what do I actually do with all of this that I went through? How can I resource myself with these
Hmm.
things? And there's almost like a realness. You kind of are like, so many Pisces risings that I've talked to are getting so much more real with the things that they're doing. It's not so much anymore about like, oh, I just believe everything will like kind of work out for the better. I'm not saying that's like bad. Like that's a super nice intrinsic belief to have. My Jupiter ruled Pisces, but but it's like also I think a point right now where it's like, okay. And now, how do we get real about this? So, when I'm maybe old, I actually have the finances sorted out and I have my resources sorted out. So, it's not just in my faith, but it's something that is actually physically tangible. And I can look at it and be like, okay, yeah, there's security around there. I confirm that. And yes, that's what's coming to my mind right now.
Yeah. You mentioned two things that I'm going to dive in before we
Yes.
probably wrap it up. The first one was like that mentality, right? Chiron in Taurus after Uranus went through Taurus. So my intuition tells me that for a lot of people, if they don't have earth signs, they might have learned the lesson. The earth sign people are the hardest with the rising like this because every chart, especially every person, is individually unique, but especially with the archetypes of the risings, when I look at Pisces rising, to me, the earth signs that are in this chart always have it the most difficult because in a chart like this, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn are all placed within the air sign houses. But not just because it's the air sign house, it's because of what recently happened, which leads to the second thing that you said. Neptune and Saturn have been sitting in that first house for God knows way too long, right? And there's this joke that I saw on TikTok where it's like, if you have Virgo placements, you've literally been delusional since 2012. And it's like, if you have mercurial placements, you've been delusional. I've been delusional since 2012. And it's like, I'm not even that old. So it's like, what do I really know? And with Pisces rising, you've had Neptune sitting on your first house forever. And now, as it moves into your second house, it's doing a heavy haul with Saturn to make sure that you are undoing all the stuff that you probably don't even need. And so the Chiron here squaring the Pluto is like, hey, you are actually the shit. And just like we told the Aries risings that have the sexy Jupiter and Leo through their fifth house, it's like for you guys, it's not even about the sexiness. It's about just acknowledging you probably do a good amount of stuff for the people around you, right? And the community that you are a part of, you probably actually put in your best foot forward because while Pluto was sitting inside your 11th house, and Neptune was sitting inside your first house, you were very much not focusing on your own well-being as much as you could. So that's why when Chiron was going through your second, it was like, who are you? Right? And knowing who you are internally, that Venus value now becomes, well, are you actually acting by saying who you really are? And this square to the sixth house is also going to dig into like, are you acting, or at least are you aware of who you are? Are you living in the shadow of who you think you're not, or who you would like to be and you don't think that you are? Is a better way of saying that. So I thought I'd point that out because it just went through my mind.
That's good.
Yeah.
And your Apple Pencil is at 77%. Take that as a
Yeah.
synchronicity, Pisces.
Yeah. However that works out for you. Um, if you don't have anything else to say, I guess we will move on.
Well, maybe just one last thing. This is not a Jupiter video, but just I think Jupiter, your ruler, moving into the sixth house, I think yes, it's gonna make you really realize like where you have been like overexerting yourself, and like where do you need to like where other people can give you. Also, Jupiter in the sixth house, I will say, um, for me, when Jupiter was in Aries traveling through my sixth house, is when like I had the best job ever. So
Mhm.
just saying Jupiter being a benefic traveling through the sixth house can certainly lend you into some situations where you have an amazing work environment and you totally deserve that.
Yeah, I totally second that. Okay.
Yes. That's what we have for
Let's move
Pisces.
on and let's look at who's next on the chopping block. So I hope you don't hate me because the way I just feel like randomizing
You're
it
just
is and
randomizing
being
it.
like, swoo, who's
As long
next?
as we don't forget anyone,
Okay.
that's good.
All right, we've done Aries, Pisces. No, I'm not gonna make this hard on you. Well, let's just do Aquarius.
Okay.
Um,
It's
next.
already like the clock is going backwards, so
Yeah. Okay. I am going to not speak and then speak. Let me first move this 1 hour over. Okay, there we go.
okay, Aquarius.
Aquarius risings. I can't do that with my hair, but you get the idea.
I wanted
So,
to greet you with all the weirdness I have.
wow. The oddballs, not for bad reasons, as people like to say, but anytime I look at Aquarius risings, I think, wow, you guys are the people that like you're not enough of this or you're not as much of this and you can't be this. That's how people really project your life. A very easy cultural way would be being ambiguous culturally. And I think it stems into a lot more. You guys have unique features in yourself, physically, mentally, things that really stick you out. So, of course, Chiron going through your fourth house, it's huge because essentially Chiron is here to tell the story that earlier on in your life, leading to your rising, you were just completely picked out of what it is that you were around. And you never really felt like you connected, which is a very Aquarius rising thing. And I look at this as the Aquarius square to the fourth house in Taurus. But now it's like, okay, well, clearly Uranus and Taurus did not make your life simple or easy. So now that we've gone through it, are you able to feel invested and rested within who you are even though you feel as if you're missing something? For a lot of people that I've done readings for that have Aquarius rising, they've lost a critical person in their life. And this has been since Pluto entered Aquarius. And so it's made them essentially, for what I've seen for like two of my clients, it's been really cool to see them like burst out and like quite literally go back to their home country to try and find who they are. And then I've
Mm.
also seen that it's been a really rough time to emotionally get past that because they've rooted their identity so much into this because they were trying to run away from this. So the way that it plays out for you is really important to consider, and the opposite of Taurus being Scorpio, a lot of these people also ran to the capitalistic 10th house. Why is it that? Because the 12th house, being the subconscious, is so heavily rooted around being secured in something, in a power structure that would make them always work as much as they could. So they don't actually struggle with saying they want to get something done or they're going to do something. They always do that, but it's always from a fearful survival state if that fourth house has problems because it's Taurus, right? And like you had said earlier, the exaltation of the moon being Taurus, they don't feel comfortable. You'd probably look at the moon a little bit more, but with Chiron sitting here, you might as well have an afflicted moon in a sense. So don't overindulge in trying to commit to something, to achieve something, to attain some financial stability that you think is going to make you feel happy. Because now that Pluto is no longer reigning control of your subconscious, you're going to come to realize, actually, I don't need to work 10 hours a day at a real estate company. Maybe I want to go back and live in China. Maybe I want to fly to the Philippines and use all the money I've used, or I want to go to Switzerland to be in the Alps. You know, like I want to live a lifestyle that actually aligns with how unique I am. Because I think Aquarius risings are cool ass people. Your 11th house, your fifth house, you guys are, well, I would say it, but actually I'm not going to say it because I don't know if you'd be cool with that on your page, but you guys are mentally unstable. I'll say that instead. Um, you guys really just have like no chill whatsoever, but somehow it always comes together. So I think that with Jupiter sitting in your seventh house, it would be criminal for you not to address this fourth house Taurus Chiron, you know? Um, you're worth it. Don't look at your ancestry, your origin, the way you look, the way you think, the way you act. Don't let that be the reason why people think that you have to be a specific way, you know?
I agree so much. Yeah, I think the fourth house, especially Chiron being there, there is something about like the past way before you even have been born, way before the people that are still alive have been born. It's like it didn't start with you type of situation where it's really like when we're talking about ancestry, we're talking about like, your great grandmother as well, like all of these people that influenced you in being here. And it's something you can't deny, like it's part of your life, and at the same time, it doesn't have to define you. And at the other same time, I feel like it's something that also needs to be like acknowledged and sat with. And I do think Chiron and Taurus is kind of gonna like make you maybe sit with it a bit more if it's something you have been trying to run away from, or act like it doesn't exist. I think, you know, uh, that's what Aquarius and Scorpio have a bit in common of being like a bit of the oddballs from the zodiac sign. Um, and at least in Scorpio, I noticed this a lot, but there is like a simplicity of Taurus that almost feels offensive. Like it's almost like clashing too much with the ego that something actually can be so simple. And I would say with Chiron being there in the fourth house of you, like admitting you had a normal upbringing or something that wasn't extraordinarily special is like icky for you because there is always an urge to stand out and be special. Um, and that's a valid reason to kind of run away from it.
Mhm.
And at the same time, I'm like, there's no shame in admitting you had a stable upbringing. I'm not saying it was like that for everyone, but if it was, like, there's no shame in admitting that. Like, that's a nice thing. Maybe there's also, help Jupiter in the seventh house being there that is like, that can actually come through acknowledging that. There's sometimes I feel like Aquarius risings are these people that are like, oh, I'm gonna run away from my inheritance because I want to do it all by myself. And it's like, hey, you can accept the help that comes through your roots, your family, or the people that love you, which is, Jupiter being in that seventh house, opposite your first house. There is a lot of, I think that was Capricorn is going through that right now with Jupiter in its exaltation in the seventh house. Both of y'all are Saturn ruled. There is always this fear of depending on someone or feeling like that if I accept like love and help and care from someone, that means that I am not whole, or that
Mm.
means that whatever you have in your mind, right? That it's like not just yourself that made it and like it's gonna cripple and like I'm gonna be defined by another person. Jupiter and Leo is here to remind you that no, like you can receive love and care from someone without letting it fully define you. It's not gonna distinguish or extinguish, sorry, your personality. And Pluto is transforming that anyways for the next many, many years to come. So. Yes. And we didn't talk so much about Neptune, Saturn in the third house yet with you here. But that for me is a lot about, how you're talking to yourself when you're by yourself. Yeah, like your thoughts creating and shaping reality. And you realizing that, yeah, and especially with Pluto again, out of your 12th house, like how much of an influence that actually has on the world around you.
Yeah, I love this. I actually didn't consider how much I leave on the table with doing recordings just by myself. Like your points of view are so unique to yourself that it makes this conversation so amazing. Like what you highlighted about that, it could be that simple. And it's like it's so true because, and at the heart of every Taurus placement, there is a Scorpio backdrop that's like, no, it's deeper than that. Like we
Yeah.
don't talk because it's deeper than that, right? But it is simple on the surface. And I think that the other thing you highlighted was, the Saturn that's sitting in the third house is asking you to be kinder to yourself. But it's not in the way that it would just be Venusian. That's why the Chiron is here. The Saturn is sitting in that third house, and it's kind of just like you're not going to be doing all these things, right? You're going to be establishing boundaries that is going to stop you from having to constantly give up your own peace. And for the ninth house Libra people, I had stated that, they really are marginalized into something. And sometimes that could work to your benefit. Like if people really think you're a genius because of the last name you come from, why the fuck would you want to be known to be last? Like I know it can seem like it's a burden, but you're not probably considering how much of a gift it is that you
Mhm.
get to think it's a burden, right? And that Neptune and Saturn is like, I'm gonna show you what it is to not have this. So that way, when you step into your full power, when Neptune is left here alone, you're like, you know what? Saturn was kind of right. I actually might just be as great as I am, but I don't have to be that people see me as. It's a nice balance and in between. And yeah, that's all I got for you guys.
Yeah, that's that. This is just general Aquarius, but the fact that you guys have the sun, um, in a weakened position, is, you're finding out who you are by realizing who you are not. Like that's such an Aquarius journey.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that you're gonna have, the nodes also, and then therefore the eclipses. We already had an eclipse in Aquarius happen in your first house this year, but that's gonna like make that even more obvious, I would say. Again, but also like don't run away where you came from. Like it's just gonna make it harder for you to like get the full picture. Like it's all part of you. It doesn't have to sting so hard. Um, yeah, that's what I have as my closing words.
Awesome. All right. Another one bites the dust. Okay. Let's see. Ooh, the Capricorns. Let's be serious. Let's um
Capricorns. Hello. No, I
Capricorn
love my
risings.
Capricorn risings. So
I do too. They're good people and they've suffered enough. So let's not waste their time. All right, Capricorn risings. I think that you guys understand when I say I am so happy Pluto is no longer in Capricorn. All right. I feel like I'm gonna give you guys like 2, 3 solid years of being happy for you because I know you're tired of that shit. And even though that we're done with Earth, I guess not so much. You guys had Pluto and Capricorn, you had Uranus and Taurus, and now you're going to have Chiron in Taurus. So it's not all over. But let's talk about what the wound of Chiron does
I
in the fifth
won.
house. It's my Invisalign, it's in. Um, it's really just what is it that Capricorn doesn't do? It's having fun. And you guys, you haven't been having fun because the first house has been plagued by being an adult. I couldn't do it. Actually, I don't know that you guys even know what fun is because some of you were actually born during this transit. And you were born probably before, but if you're under like 4 years old, so you got Pluto and the degrees of Sag, like you don't even know life for real outside of Pluto and Capricorn. So we're trying to actually work on this idea that you have to put in all this time to enjoy yourself. Because for a Capricorn rising, the journey is just the end. And that comes from that 12th house being subconsciously Sagittarius. So you have to be able to look at work as more than the productivity is play, like you're not making spreadsheets. But I get it because you're really just trying to hedge a bad time. Circumstances feel like they're constantly happening to you. And so really digging deep into the aspect of the seventh house is huge here. Chiron's going to show you that like it doesn't have to be an expensive thing. It doesn't have to be something flashy. And just like the Aquarius risings, it doesn't have to be something where it's like, you know, you're different. Like it doesn't have to be something that separates you so much from other people because you don't want to be publicly seen, right? The opposition of the Taurus being that Scorpio, it's like, I'm gonna do my stuff myself, right? And for a lot of Capricorn people, I think that they kind of double down with trying to find that joy in relationships, their interpersonal relationships. On Sunday, I did a reading for 2 Capricorn risings, and I sat with myself and I was like, damn, they're going through it. Both of them got cheated on, and I was just sitting with it like, well, Uranus left their fifth house. Pluto's no longer in their first. Their relationships were kind of defined around the idea of safety over actual love. And because of that, now that we no longer have Uranus in Taurus and Pluto in Capricorn, Pluto is sitting in an air house, Uranus is in an air house. So things are crazy. Things are not the same. And that has tested their relationships to show, hey, this shit actually doesn't work out if the right amount of money is not involved and we're not living this certain way, which basically says there's instability. And that is where the Chiron here is going to show you, hey, most of the fun comes from the fact that we don't plan the next day. I got Sag placements. I don't even know what I'm doing after 4 p.m. I have no idea. I know that my wife has a therapy session, and then after that, we could be doing arts and crafts. We could go to a swim park. I don't know what I'm going to be doing, and that is fun. I know that petrifies you, but I promise you, life can be free. And I know you guys have it in you because your 12th house is Sagittarius. You just got to be able to trust it again, right? And not let the pain and the scar of what Pluto was doing in that first house to hinder you. Because right now, Saturn transiting that fourth house, you're at home anyway, or you're trying to make home more stable because of the fact that maybe you weren't getting exactly what you needed. So Jupiter coming in is like, well, let's actually start getting what we need for ourselves from other people, right? It's a really good audit after having Pluto where it's at, you know?
oh yeah, I that is so good because I feel like Saturn being in fall in an angular house for you, like your ruler, is not the easiest thing. I feel like there's a lot of pressure at home, wherever you are, if it's your living situation, if it's you considering a new living situation, if you want to move countries, if you want to move away, if you want to just like move your homes, um, you know, and I do certainly think that like Jupiter entering that eighth house might really help out a lot in, you know, at least dimming down the pressure a little bit or being like, oh, hey, I actually got lucky because there was help from a contract that is actually really good. And yeah, but I feel like right now I'm almost oh, this is not just it's also Chiron, especially horoscopes here. Yeah, I love the sun there. I'm like, there's no hiding for you guys. I'm like, I think isn't it interesting that Capricorn risings have like the brightest eighth house, which is similar to Scorpio having, like the 10th house being so bright, both of them known for kind of being a bit private. I think this is definitely gonna show you like the pitfalls of keeping to yourself because Capricorns like to keep to yourself. That's not a bad thing. I think that's actually a pretty admirable and a good thing. But it's also like where does that actually bring you to places that you could actually have been helped by other people. But if they don't know, how can they help you? Right? Like, how can anybody help you if they don't know? There's probably a lot of family affairs that are going on, like Saturn, Neptune in that fourth house. Maybe a family member is sick, you have to take care of them. Well, you know what? If you're not letting people in and showing that, hey, there's a bunch of stuff going on in my life, then they're gonna think, oh, that's just this like private asshole that never has time. When it's like actually you're doing so much. And I feel like Jupiter really wants you like to highlight that, like, hey, like let people see that you're not, it's not going to diminish. I think like there's a humbleness around Capricorn. Well, certainly can also go the other way, but usually I would say Capricorn is a sign that's like, I don't want people to see like the good deeds I do. Like I'm going to privately donate almost all of my money and I'm not going to let anyone know. And it's okay. Like that's super nice. And it's also nice if some people do know. And Chiron is gonna, show and make it abundantly clear where, maybe there has been some wounds around like you letting people in and they, I don't know, making fun of it or being like, oh, you're a philanthropist because of that. And like, God forbid somebody calls a Capricorn a philanthropist because how dare you have fun, right? Certainly, Uranus and Gemini in the sixth house has been turning your daily routines upside down and showing you that the way you have been working or things or having your routines, you have to shake this up. Like, no matter if you take the same supplements every day and you have the strict workout regime, if you're not having fun, if you're eating the food simply to fill out certain calories and it's not actually pleasurable, what are you actually doing in the long run? What are you actually doing in the long run? So there is a lot of, I think, yeah, your houses that are about fun and the joy of being together with people are very much, I feel, in the foreground for you, Capricorns, this summer and over the next year.
I, oh, sorry.
Well, years. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. I absolutely wanted to say you sparked such an amazing idea in my mind. And it's just that you're so right. Capricorn and Aquarius rising people, so private. Like it hit me. I'm like, actually, the two people, one of them that I read for was someone that I've been working with that I knew about for a while. And I was just like, I would have never known. I was like, I would have never known that something like that could happen to her. And I was like, wait, it's because she didn't say anything. She's zip. And it's like all the Scorpio risings that I know, their life is chaos. That's why they find me. Because being a Taurus rising, I'm in their seventh house. But otherwise, unbeknownst to everyone else, everything's chill. But that's further from the case. I'm telling you, you know it. I'm sorry to out you guys. But you know a Scorpio rising, just know they're going through something and they're not going to let anyone know. And so for you to say that like the brightest part of their chart is in the part where they probably try to keep it super private is so true. You know, they are trying to mitigate being embarrassed. And I think that's where, like you said, the Pluto in Aquarius is like, hey, fuck being embarrassed. How are you going to actually be able to fix all this if you don't have friends helping you? You know, because Pluto is like, hey, we have to reset the idea that we have to be individuals, that there is
Mm.
this like isolation we have to do. Like, I can't walk outside and say hi to my neighbor, even though they just moved in yesterday. Like, no, that's my new neighbor. Like, I'm gonna say hi. I'm gonna see how they're doing. And that's the sort of energy that you guys kind of want to embody now. And that is what Saturn in that fourth house really does. Because if you experience a fourth house Saturn transit, you can't really do what you want to do the way you want to do it because you're stuck in your home or your home area, or you can't go places. So you might as well mingle. You might as well interlace yourself with the people around you because then I think you're able to heal that wound. Find some fun, create some pleasure, and make sure that you are finding the right people because this is how you make really passionate, long-term friendships, relationships. It's through that eighth house where your sun is sitting.
I agree. And Capricorns, I know you actually want that. Like, I know you actually, like, secretly want to have these deep relationships. Just like it requires of you to, like, tell people what's going on. It's not a one-way street, it's a two-way street.
Yeah. Yeah. It's okay to be vulnerable.
It's
I
okay to
won't
be
make fun of
vulnerable
you.
for real. I do think Jupiter is gonna help out a little. But you know, you're gonna have to also take the hand if the hand is being reached out to you.
Yeah.
That's the opportunities of Jupiter, you know? You have to meet the opportunity. If it comes, you'd have to take the hand. If you go back to your old patterns, which I don't think you are, I think Uranus in the sixth house is really like being here and like it forming a sextile to Jupiter is really like a big invitation for you to change things up. So I hope you don't go back down that road where, you know, you're carrying the weight of your world on your own shoulders because you really don't
Yeah.
have to.
You know, and that's all I got for you guys.
Yes.
All right. Let us keep going and let us cover Sagittarius now. The people that probably needed the energy we gave Capricorn. Sagittarius! Hi, you guys
Hello,
don't need it from us.
Sag.
You already have it innate. So, what does this look like for you guys to have Chiron going through your sixth house? Sagittarius risings right now, and I quote, wounds around the body, daily routines, and how it is that you make that money. The biggest issue that you have is overworking. Because for you guys, daily contributions are important. But what about your needs? This is actually interesting because we were talking about this
Yeah.
before, right? Should we keep going, right? Everything that you do day to day, it is huge. And whether or not you take the time to sit down, it is something that I've come to find is not always there. Chiron moving through that sixth house will highlight all of these because essentially, if you've ever heard of people asking God for peace or for strength or for love, and then essentially God's going to give you the opposite, right? Or whatever you believe in. It's like, if you want rest, I'm going to overload you so you're forced to rest. And why is that? Because look at where Saturn, Jupiter, and also your rising is being affected. Uranus in your seventh house means people are coming through those doors. Okay? They are flooding in like it's Black Friday in the early 2000s. I know that shit's basically dead now, but back in the day, you haven't lived life if you weren't camping in front of a Best Buy for 24 hours, right? Actually, that's just capitalism. You have lived life. But it's like you need to rest because otherwise you will be overstimulated. You will be flooded by people. And Jupiter and the South Node, you know, you're getting a lot of nice upgrades. I actually love this transit for you guys because I really think everything else is doing it, right? For the Pluto in your third house, it's telling you, hey, you are actually the shit. You don't need to be any more quiet, be louder. understand that what it is that you provide to the collective unconscious is amazing. And to also realize that not every day has to be a creative aspect, and that sometimes you can just treat yourself because you like to work hard, right? Chiron being in Taurus is coming in here and saying, I'm going to provide a really nice bed, a nice sauna retreat opportunity. I'm going to make sure that you can afford your self care because if you don't take care of it, I'm gonna give you medical problems. I'm gonna give you a trip to the dentist, doctor, whatever, because the house of daily routines oftentimes I've noticed is the house that I think it's like medicine astrology will come to. They talk about that a lot. And it makes sense because if you're not taking care of yourself every day, you're not well. And as a tidbit, like being a Taurus rising, I didn't used to stretch at all exercising. I did yoga inconsistently, and being an athlete, it was easy to do before I hit 27. And then all of a sudden, my body is like, what are you doing? My body would ache after workouts. And I started doing yoga or kind of like stretches every day. It's been a game changer. I don't feel any of those pains anymore, but it's been because my muscles, my joints, my tendons did not get to relax. They didn't get to be put in positions that cater to them. And for you guys, your everyday is the same thing. You guys might as well be athletes because you're not doing one to two things in a day. It's a whole bunch of shit. And Uranus having just transited that sixth house, you definitely were not taking your time, but it just keeps getting bigger. And, for those of you that will be alive around this time, I really want you to think about it. These next several Uranus transits are going to quite literally tell you we have no rest. In the seventh house, it's people. In the eighth house, it's people again and research. In the ninth house, it's more people. In the 10th house, it's people. So it's not as if things get more chill. And so you really got to hone in on this Chiron and Taurus transit to actually like, hey, take it in, relax, enjoy, rest, because you need it. We have bigger things in store for the future. What do you think, Amia?
I do. I'm like, yes. And at the same time, Saturn in the fifth is making it so hard to do that.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, yeah, it almost feels a bit like, yeah, it almost really feels a bit like you're probably going to go overboard and then your body's just going to be like, stop. You know, that like thing I said somewhere in the beginning, I believe, of, okay, and now you have the accident and like now, your leg is broken and you need to learn to walk again. And it's going to take half a year until your knee is capable again of bending the way it used to before. And that happens when the consequences of the actions become real, which I think is something that you are learning right now, in general, but even more so when Chiron moves into the sixth house. You know, the sixth house, in and of itself, is a bit of an annoying house because I often refer to it as the Sisyphus house because it's the house of the daily dishes and the things you have to do. Otherwise, they're going to pile up and it's going to be even worse. But you have to do them every day. And that's kind of what taking care of your health feels like. And I always think of these like I went to a chiropractor a few times in my life, and he had this like poster in his waiting room that said something of I'm like translating it from German right now, but like whoever doesn't take care of their health every day is gonna have to do that for the rest of their lives. Um, does that make sense? But like that's
Yeah.
kind of the thing. Like that's the dishes that you have to do every day. Otherwise, there's going to be some chronic issue, and God knows, having a fixed sixth house can definitely lend itself to potentially getting chronic issues. So you really need to take care of yourself, and you really need to turn it down a notch. Even Saturn in the fifth is making that blatantly obvious because it's like you're not gonna feel pleasure if you don't do that. Like you're simply not gonna feel pleasurable if you don't do that. Like if you're just trying to do everything as fast and like get that dopamine hits, no, that
Yeah.
like no cap. It's like that's not gonna work anymore. Even if you tried, like it's not gonna, your body is gonna shut down or whatever. Or again, these health issues are just gonna get so exacerbated where it's like, okay, now I need to listen. I do want to say though that I think having Chiron, the wounded healer, in your sixth house, there's also so much potential for self-inquiry and learning about your health during that time, like actually studying. Like, if y'all all of a sudden want to go down like becoming natural practitioners, I wouldn't be surprised because that makes a lot of sense with like having a Taurus ruled sixth house. I'm like, their nature can help you so much and heal you. Maybe go down. I'm sure with Uranus there, you have been going down unconventional paths and how you go on about your healing. Now it's just about being a bit more concise and maybe sticking to something for a while, like not changing it up every few months. Because yes, you have to think about the long-term consequences. So, yeah. And as you mentioned before, there's a lot of people coming into your life for sure. And that can be good, but it can also be a distraction. Like Uranus in the seventh can also be a distraction. Um, and yeah, it can, if someone's, taking you away further from yourself, or increasing you just getting these dopamine hits, and if you hang out with them and afterwards you feel worse, think about it, maybe that's a distraction. That's not somebody that's actually conducive to your well-being. And I feel like it's also okay. I mean, I certainly don't want to prescribe the stereotype to every Sag rising, like, of like being party animals or whatever, but there's definitely an adventurous side to you. And I wouldn't be surprised if you have to just like turn it down a notch and be a bit more serious because I'll tell you one thing. Definitely Jupiter coming into the ninth house is helping out a lot. But a Sag rising that doesn't have meaning in their life and somewhere to point their arrow towards, that's worse than like a Cap rising that is just normally melancholic. Like I'm telling that's the worst form of Sag you can meet is a utterly depressed Sag that like just lost its life force and its fire. And sometimes we have to go there. Sometimes these crises moments have to happen because then we can actually really change something, and that might as well be happening. Because right, Pluto is also in that third house. Like you need to change your point of view. Um, yeah. And I think that Pluto Jupiter opposition, like that's going to be a very interesting one for you, especially because it's your ruler. Jupiter is your ruler. And I'm like, you have to change something about the way that you look at the world, about the way that you see things. A shift in perspective. It's probably, you're not going to have to do so much. Pluto is going to bring things to the surface that it has to bring, but it's probably going to be a bit uncomfortable the way that you have to like it's going to be an uncomfortable shakeup in realizing how much of your thoughts are influencing the world around you. Because the ninth house, worldviews create worlds. That's Richard Tarnas here. And that's so real. And like, I know that you know that, dear Sags, but man, yeah, I think that you almost have to like get in touch with a bit of the more serious, unfun parts of life. Yeah.
I love that you brought up the Capricorn risings because something that I think about is we all have our natal charts and we have our progress charts. And if you're a Sagittarius rising, you are going to progress into a Capricorn rising. And if it's like difficult to fully grasp that, I would suggest watching the Capricorn rising part and really sitting with the fact that they have Chiron in their fifth house, which is saying they're not having fun. So when you actually brought that up, I was just like, oh, that's beautiful because, if you're not taking care of yourself, you can't make it to the Capricorn rising long haul. They are making it to the long haul, right? And they have their own lessons to learn when they progress to Aquarius. But like if you're someone that you were a Scorpio rising and you became a Sag rising, it's like you went from taking care of others in the seventh house to now being forced to take care of yourself and what you do every day. And eventually, now that you've taken care of what you do every day, having fun if you make it to Capricorn rising, right? So it's a story progression, and you guys are that in between part here of the last quadrant of 4, 5, and 6 to say, It all starts with your health. And you need to make sure you're good. Because Uranus, when it went through Aries during the 2012, 20, like that had you guys up and awry going through Taurus. So you really haven't been somatically chill. So the party animal accusations, I think, are pretty valid, you know. But I think that's all I wanted to add to it as well. Thank you.
Agreed. I think if in doubt, go touch some grass. Like,
Yeah, go touch some grass. Sixth
go
house
hug a
Taurus.
tree. Like, if things feel unstable, go lay on a solid rock or hug a tree, and you're gonna feel so much more chill.
Yeah, 100% more chill.
Well, Scorpios, hello, hello. We're gonna talk about the best sign now.
The best sign, Scorpio rising. I love it. So let's dive into you guys. Unlike Sagittarius risings, you guys are mentally unwell and you don't show it, right? Having Jupiter coming into your 10th house is, in my point, the focal point of this transit. And why is that? Chiron is essentially exposing where you haven't been authentic to your true self. It's carrying the torch that Uranus recently went through here in your seventh house. And now, as Chiron is exposing that wound, we are going to realize that your one-to-one relationships were, for all intents and purposes, trash. The poop emoji. And whether or not you were aware of that, Uranus made sure that it wasn't going to work out. And, because of the way your chart is, you guys, you're not like romantic, like gushy, gushy romantic, but it's very much like, this is the one. I just know it. And you guys get obsessed. And so anyone that seems like they mildly don't fully care about you, you're just like a moth to a flame, right? And given the fact that Taurus is your descendant, that is the problem. Because you guys are trying to find comfort in other people when the only place you have it is yourself. And this is why this transit is huge, because all that Uranus did when it was in your sixth house was disrupt. It didn't make things whole. It honestly kind of left a lot of open-ended questions. And for some of you, I have already had very stern conversations about you guys trying to circle back to exes when we had the Mars retrograde. Like, what's going on? Right? No, let's not do that because it's not necessary for you to do. And throughout the time that you guys had Uranus traveling through your seventh house, we also had Venus retrograding in Leo. So if you think back to that summer, either 2021 or 2022, when you guys had that retrograde, it's like, no, don't do that. Don't go back to what doesn't fully honor you. And whether it is the personal relationships that you have here or the business relationships you have here, make sure you are always trying to be around people that see your worth. And it's not necessarily you living your life through other, you know, voices. And those voices, as we spoke about before, it's family. That fourth house, Amiya, I'm gonna let you take over because I'm not gonna speak on it before you do, given that you are
The
a
fourth
Scorpio.
house, the Pluto in the fourth house.
Yes.
I mean, it's a lot, right? And at the same time, I also feel like, well, personally, having so many planets have gone through Aquarius over the past few years, um, it's, I don't know, it's almost, I mean, Pluto being like also the modern ruler of Scorpio, I will say there is a bit of a familiarity with like, kind of Pluto being at the darkest place in the chart. There's almost
Mhm.
like a comfort there. And at the same time, it's also like trying to, you know, pull you out of that, I would say.
Yeah.
And Pluto is just so freaking slow moving, so it's like hard to say sometimes unless it's like exactly going over a personal planet or like trining it, squaring it or something. Because we're gonna have this to like 2044 or something like that. So this is a long, long, long ass transit. But the fact that this is, I mean, all the fixed rising signs are getting like you're essentially getting a big T square
Mhm.
Because this is all like either opposing your your rising, or it's yeah, or it's like going squares towards it. So there's a lot. I feel like Scorpios, you're probably getting like the worst combination of of that, if I'm being
Not
honest.
again.
Not again, I know, but it's yeah, and with that Chiron in the seventh house, it sounds like so cliche, and I wish I wouldn't even say it, but it's like, the sometimes people can be your greatest teachers. And that just kind of feels a bit true with Chiron and Taurus there. And there's tons of Scorpio rising that I know that even throughout Uranus in Taurus have found stable partnerships, usually through revealing what was unstable in a previous partnership. Um, uh, Not my case, but I know for a lot of people that was the case. But I do think Chiron is just kind of like going to chime in and do that. What you said is going to like make it super obvious where you have been trying to find security through other people, or where there's
Mhm.
like, I think it's, and I'm calling myself out there, but Scorpio risings with a Venus ruled 7 and 12th house. I'm like, there's a lot of like subconscious projection that gets put on other people, and like this urge to get validation from others. Like it's there, and it's kind of embarrassing to admit as a Scorpio rising, because you're too cool for that. But it is there, and I think Chiron is just gonna like make it pretty obvious, like where it's hurting, where you're like, oh please, like I want that validation. And like Jupiter being in the 10th house and that super prominent 10th house, like is not
Mhm.
gonna make it easier, because that is validation from the public. But I'm like, okay, that's nice and good. But then there's always like this question of like, okay, maybe I'm here, everybody loves me, but this person doesn't love me, and it's this person that I need them to like me. And it's like maybe focus on all the good things that are coming into your life as well, and not just what you're not getting and desperately trying to like, you know, go towards that like a moth to the flame, right? Like, because you're gonna get burned. Um,
Yeah.
which is ironic. I have a moth tattoo on my knee, so there's
There you go.
love
The
these little
moth to the
creatures.
flame. And it's beautiful because moths really are trying to get to where they basically need warmth. I
Yeah.
really fully understand you guys. I understand it as close as I can get without literally being you guys. And I say this having had friendships, relationships, and having my own solar return be in Scorpio rising. And I was like, wow, I think the biggest part about you guys is because of your fourth house. And to me, I think like what we talked about with family, it's huge. Like I've come across so many Scorpio rising that it really is like they could literally talk so bad about themselves. They could talk bad about their family, the people that they love, but you better not think that you're allowed to do the same thing. And it's not even the notion of talking bad about those people, but I've noticed it's taking them out of the situations that don't serve them. They don't like that. Scorpio risings want to eat dirt. They want to just completely go through the ground in their own transformative thing. And it is in their right because that is the embodiment of that Martian energy in their first. I am the warrior that will get me through this through all possible ways. And that's why I think they're so powerful because they can't be moved. At the same time, though, when I was a Scorpio rising and like it's unbelievably funny to me that the people that I knew that essentially were internet famous that are Scorpio risings, it's like you would just never know because there's an energy of Scorpio that people misunderstand and they think that it's supposed to be sly and deceptive and all this that and it's like no, Scorpio energy that's at its highest matures form will blend in so well that it's like a spy. And I think that is where they could do themselves a disservice, you know, because the rising operates from that 12th house, which is it's Libra. And it's very much like Libra, if you've come across unmatured, unevolved Libra, it's just chatty and it's in everyone's business. A mature Libra is What's that quote? The highest form of intelligence is acting stupid. It's really acting like you have no idea. And I think that Libra at its highest form is very much indifferent to things and it just simply moves on and it doesn't care. So Scorpio here, it's trying to learn to not care about things that bothers it when it comes to its status, when it comes to the lineage that it's been given that makes no sense, but it has to find a way to live up to this ideal. Oftentimes, I would find Scorpio risings being descendants from the craziest backgrounds, and they're trying to embody one or the other or both. And it's like, what the fuck are you doing? That lineage of chaos is what makes you so cool because there's nothing to me like having Sag. It's like, not only are you, I don't know, like, Scandinavian and Russian, but then you have Brazilian children. Like, what is that? That is what makes you so unique. And that is why you should not forget your true core self. It is being that cool person. But oftentimes, I notice you guys forget about that. You get lost. And more often than not, once you find your little like candy bar of goodness in a person, you just like merge and you forget about everything else. And I think it's just like, I know that you guys really want love and you really want to be considered because of the fact that, you aren't seen for who you are. But I think when a North Node and eventually Chiron have the square, it's really going to teach you that like you carry that within you. You are the reason this is fun. And to not look at trying to do better, trying to be better with that sixth house Aries, like that's not going to make you better as a person. You got to actually do the research in yourself and just enjoy the fact that you are the shit. You don't need anyone else to make you look like the shit. And the healthiest Scorpio risings have healthy friendships that they're not codependent to, and their friends really appreciate them without being reliant on them. That's all I
Yeah,
got.
yeah. I think Uranus, shaking up that eighth house in general over the coming years is very much a, renegotiation with intimacy and like
Mhm.
what does it mean to, because we talk about the eighth house with contracts, and like yes, but like okay, I need to start again because like the eighth house is kind of an extension of the seventh house. If the seventh
Mhm.
house is, the wedding party, then for me the eighth house is the contract, the marriage, and what
Mhm.
comes with it, the other person's money, the family karma, all of that, like the entanglements you get into. And Uranus here is like renegotiate how that looks like. Like you might have an idea of what you think that looks like, and it doesn't have to be that. You don't with Scorpio, there's always like this urge of like, oh, come close to me. No, don't come close to me. And it's like, and that's very much that Gemini in the eighth house for sure. Uh, and it's like, can we renegotiate that? Can there be intimacy without it either being you losing yourself in it or you being completely distant? It doesn't have to be an all or nothing situation. And I do think both Chiron in the seventh house and then Uranus in the eighth house is gonna just like push that a bit more to the forefront. And then we also have like Saturn and Neptune in the sixth house. It's really that like not quadrant. What is that? There's what is that called? I'm forgetting the name. Like the around the seventh house, like the sixth,
Oh,
the
the
eighth.
descendant? Are you talking about that?
Yeah, like the
Or
descendant axis. But I feel like there's
Mhm.
there's a anyways, but just this
Oh,
cluster of that part of the chart is very much active right now. And I feel like you're really relearning with yeah, like Neptune and Saturn there in the sixth to be
mhm,
like, hey, maybe I don't have to carry all the burdens for the
mhm,
other people. And where do I have to take responsibility and where do I not have to carry it when it comes to other people? Like, yes, the sixth house is also about the job for sure and about health, but it's like all of this impacts it at the end of the day. There's a sextile between the eighth and the sixth house, and it's like the intimacy that you have with other people, it doesn't just have to be romantic. Certainly, oftentimes it isn't, but it doesn't just have to be, can directly impact your health. Not just can, is directly impacting your health. So you got to be careful, who you engage with. But it doesn't have to be that crazy deep all the time. Again,
Yeah.
offended by the simplicity of Taurus.
Yeah, we can be very blunt sometimes. I love that. I don't think I have more to add. I think you hit it on the nail with that one.
Nope. Good for me as well.
Okay. Libra risings.
Let's get to our beautiful Libras.
Libra risings to me always have the most difficult
It didn't
thing.
yet switch the wheel, sorry.
Oh, sorry. There we go.
Great.
Libra risings to me have always been the ones that have an invisible difficulty. And that difficulty is having people like you. Libra risings have to deal with people going through their seventh house to find them, the true self. And that's how I look at astrology in that way. It doesn't mean that everyone has to go through the seventh, but it's very much that the best catch will go through your seventh. And that means that they respect you to understand you. They don't necessarily have to love you. Now, some people will just naturally fall in love with you, but the best type of connection that you guys have is that. And it's important to say this because Chiron sitting in your eighth house is all about the shared resources you have with others. It's the hidden power that a lot of people will ignore about you. And here, it feels as though you might be losing those people, just like the Scorpio risings, but in a way that's like, as you said, Amiya, the seventh to eighth house, the contract to what's really there after the wedding, to say, like, okay, is there peace amongst my treasure chest? Or is the people that are no longer in my life because of Saturn going to actually make me feel like I have less? Because the Taurus here is saying everything I am is because of other and what they do, and I provide a space for it when you're not looking at the fact that you work so hard to create the things you did for yourself, and you probably don't give yourself enough credit for that. And this would cause you to basically have to heal. It would cause you to have to heal in a way that could be a little bit public at first, because I think that your firehouses are circulated around people. So you're always talking, you're always trying to grow. And with Jupiter potentially putting you in positions where people around you are doing better, or maybe they are doing just as well, but it's always going to feel like it's not enough. That Uranus in the ninth house is like, it's not enough. Like, I have to do more. But Chiron here is like, actually, before you go do anything else, make sure that you have the things in front of you held accountable to the way that you need to be. Before you go run and make a podcast and open up a kava emporium or some sort of like, I don't know, tattoo on wheels with some sort of drink combination, like, think about that. What do you really have right now for yourself with this Chiron? I feel like it's super simple. But what do you think?
Well, I was just thinking how Libras, you have this interesting combination of the fact that the other house that has your ruler, Venus, like is the eighth house. I feel like that
Mm,
says a lot about you and this like underlying intelligence about social dynamics and how like just power dynamics between people work. And
mhm,
again, this what you said with Scorpio when we were talking about Libra being the 12th house. Obviously, here Libra is the first house, so it's a bit more obvious. But at the same time, there's like a smartness in playing dumb, or
mhm,
because Libras, you know how to get what you want. There's like there's this stereotype around like, oh, Libra is just I don't know, agreeing with anyone, seeing everyone, they're like so indecisive. I'm like, I'm not so sure. I feel like Libras, you know what you want, and you're extremely smart in playing around how to get this. You have a Mercurial 12th house. That's like an exalted Mercury in the 12th house. When it gets there, that's a very smart ass combination to have when it comes to, and there, that's also the reason why so many of our world leaders, although we can argue about that, but I have a lot of Libra placements. There's a lot of weight you're carrying as well, right? And that's also one of the reasons why Saturn is exalted in your sign. the weight of the world that you're carrying when it comes to balancing things out constantly all the time. And the fact that like your eighth house is getting activated here, your other Venusian house with Chiron there, I think it's gonna pull these things to the forefront, or where you have experienced some sort of incredibly harsh wound where you have lost control, you have been put into a position where you have been feeling powerless. Like all of that is kind of really going to become to the forefront. And maybe even due to your own like I don't want to say games because I'm not saying like you're like here like a poker player and everything, but I
Mhm.
certainly think maybe there was a situation in your life that you put yourself and you had the idea that it's gonna be one outcome, and then like somebody one-upped you, and that led to this wound of like, oh my gosh, there was shame involved. I was at the mercy of this person. I had to, my resources were bound to them. Like maybe you were stuck in a marriage where it was like, okay, I was completely dependent on the other person. Like I couldn't just get out. That is a huge ass wound around, yeah, the power you have or the powerlessness that you have felt. And that is Chiron traversing through the eighth house, and it's like directly stinging into you because it's both Venus ruled houses that are happening here.
I love that point because it's the truth.
Mm,
A lot of the Libra risings that I know and people that have heavy Libra energy, they can get what they want through the idea of charm, but really more so through, I'm going to say clairvoyance. And I understand what clairvoyance means, but it's like they see that future that they want and they create it through using all the clairs, if I'm going to say that, right? Like they're going to hear, they're going to say, they're going to mimic and do all these things that kind of puts them in a position of power. Now, for the Libra risings, their positions of power relating to others, they're very dependent on that. It's not to say they can't get it on themselves, but it's like when you look at what they have, their lesson is learning to work with other people and to have communities that help grow them. But the problem with that is, well, Jupiter is just as great as Saturn is. In order to grow, we need reduction, and the two of them need each other to actually create Libra, the balance. And this is what you get here. You always need people to come in and help you create that dream. You can do it yourself, but it's a lot easier when you have people. The problem becomes when you don't audit the people that are there. And I think that's, like you said, what this Chiron does. It's telling you that, hey, maybe you had a marriage that like doesn't work out and you think it's perfect because they're hardworking just like you, but maybe Saturn gets into Taurus and you're like, actually, this isn't what I thought it was. Or Chiron being in Taurus now is showing you that there are cracks in this. And a lot of it could just be that you can't fully be yourself and it's not the same experience and feeling. So I know you guys got this, but just keep that in mind. That's
agreed.
all I got for this, actually.
Agreed. I think I definitely we didn't talk so much about Jupiter. I'm like, if in doubt, go to your friends. They're gonna help
Yeah.
you out. Like
Yeah.
have your friend group be a real resource. Obviously,
Hmm.
with the South Node hanging around there, there's probably going to be people that will fall away that are just like in your way.
Hmm.
And also with Saturn being in the seventh house, I feel like there's
Yeah.
a lot of shedding that is happening for you in your social circles. Um, your social circus, maybe too. I don't know.
Hmm.
But Jupiter and Leo, I think, really wants to, align you with people. I just feel like there's this with the fact that, both, I would say, well, all the fire signs are kind of very much here to be like, I want to be real, I want to be raw, I want to be authentic, and the fact that you have like Saturn in the seventh and Jupiter in the 11th here is like the realer you get with yourself, the realer the people around you will get too.
Hmm. Oh
So
my
that's kind
gosh.
of, I feel like, the wisdom for Libra here. There's your social circles are going to be as real as you are with them.
I'm gonna piggyback on that. One last thing. When you said that, this is what came to my mind. It's like this road where you are traveling through it, and this road itself is your 11th house, right? And so the Jupiter energy that you have is shown through essentially the people that you are walking with. And to the left and right of you, there are people that are, there and they show themselves. And every time you have an idea, it's like the third house is this megaphone that I don't know how to draw a megaphone, but I'm going to try. There's the megaphone, right? And it's like you're like talking to people these amazing ideas and these things. And then Saturn here is coming in and it's like, hey, keep your eyes on the road. Say what you're going to say, but don't direct it so much to people that you feel like you have to bring them in. Allow what it is that you want to do to bring the correct people. So you saying, emphasis on Jupiter, it's like you are that road. It is a privilege to connect with you so you can be the node that people connect with others. And if you look at it that way, I think that really honors your ninth house in Gemini that is so scattered around with what it wants to do as it keeps starting and stopping things.
Yeah, I think it's, yeah, definitely with Uranus there as well. I think it's really, you know, we don't see things as they are, we see things as we are.
Oof, that is a
Oof.
fire point.
Fire
And I'm
point for Libra. Okay,
yeah.
bye.
Bye. I love that. Um, okay. Are you good? Do you need a moment?
I'm good.
All right.
I'm good. We can go to Dear Virgo.
Virgos. The best sign in the zodiac. The number one sign. I'm just saying that for my wife because I know she wants to hear that. Let's dive into it. Okay. Oh, Virgo, my Virgo. The special Virgos. What would we be without Virgos? Without Virgo energy, I don't think this world would run because there are Virgos somewhere making shit happen that don't get the applause and congratulation for it. And with this, you guys have Chiron in your ninth house. So, Chiron moves to your ninth house, where wounds around your worldview, beliefs, and the value that you hold are essentially challenged, right? You've been taught about the way you should look at things to be very surface level, and it's caused you to essentially limit how far things can be. What you need to do is create a system where you actually have it yourself in a complete, aligned, attuned way. That way, you don't allow what it is that you perceive everything else to be or others to define you. And with this, I know so many Virgo risings. It might be the second, the second like rising sign I would come across, and I can tell you right now. That third house in Scorpio is chef's kiss, but it is the worst nightmare of Virgos because essentially you guys don't have faith in anything, right? And maybe you have a Pisces stallion. Okay. But why don't you have faith? As you said, sometimes it's really just that simple. But when it comes to the highest form of education, in my opinion, the ninth house, that's not where you want to have Taurus. What you guys have, though, is practical intuition. You guys have practical sense. It doesn't take too much to make you guys happy. A nice meal, maybe you smoke something, and you feel great. But the problem with that is the third house being your consciousness and the people that you observe through your 11th, it makes it so what you really desire is true companionship and love. Let me not actually draw that out. And it's possibly going to make you feel as though in order to feel loved, I basically have to know every single thing about other people. And you're wrong because unfortunately, knowing every single thing leaves it so you don't have faith. And when I look at the ninth house, just like the Libra risings before this, they did everything they could so that way they don't have to worry about falling short of people. So they have so many different friends. But with you guys, you're like, I don't need that many people. I just need some very reliable, faithful people that I know everything about. And while that seems like it's cool at first, Chiron is coming in to say, actually, what you think you understand about love, what you think you understand about trust, let's test that, right? How is it going to be if you are in love with someone, if you have a family, friend, a parental relationship where you actually can't control what it is that they do? If the ideas that they have don't relate to what it is that you think, but most importantly, if what they do actually works for them, can you respect them and love them? Because that is the true test of a marriage. Can you respect and love someone outside of you that will not be the same person you met, that will evolve or devolve, and they will change? What is your love truly? Because, like you were saying, that seven and eighth is, I think, in astrology, this last quadrant is really just a test of whether or not you have the capability to love. The ninth house being Sagittarius, the highest form of an experience is the actual journey of doing it. It's not even like the accolade, the accomplishment, the money at the end. It's whether or not you enjoy the process. And that being the ninth house, your seven, eight, and nine are so structured on the idea that essentially you believe you know, right? Because you believe you felt everything there is to feel, and that you don't have to work as hard to make sure that these things stay consistent to grow over time. Rather, I often find a lot of you sit on the polarity of these three, which this can be pretty stubborn. Knowing everything there is to know, while also believing that because you know everything, you're able to keep a balance. And lastly, that you understand, which oftentimes is not fully that. So this rising is going through a really big thing compared to most of the other risings, but especially all of the Earth risings are learning a very valuable lesson here. That Saturn and Neptune in your eighth house is most likely unlocking a very deep spiritual gift with Neptune. But it's like, but do you have trust? Do you have the patience and the time to actually see that, hey, like you can actually keep things to be more of a peace without needing the desire to control? It's huge. And you're also going to be pretty fucking busy with Pluto and Uranus here. So it's not like you have the time to ignore this transit. And at the end of it, I think you come out fully happy. I think the Jupiter in that 12th house will really make you realize that you actually are that person. I love Virgo risings because I think they are really special. But do they know that they're special without needing to let other people not have control of their own special talents? It's no competition. You are amazing and you are able to be who you are, but allow people to be that way themselves, you know? That's all I got.
Mic drop.
Or a pencil drop.
Or pencil drop.
There we go.
Yeah, there's wow, you said so many good points this time around. Um Not
Thank
that
you.
you didn't the other time.
No, I know. I know. It wasn't just that simple. Not for them.
Yes, but I mean, when I look at Virgo risings, I'm just like, you guys are having a lot of the more difficult houses that are being activated right now, mostly throughout the outers. Obviously, Uranus is in the 10th house. That's not a difficult house per se, but I would say it's a pretty difficult house for Uranus to go through,
Mm.
especially for you. We're focusing on Chiron here, but I do want to mention this. I think it's incredibly interesting. I think for me, the fact that, your other Mercury ruled house, Gemini, being your 10th house as a Virgo rising, really describes how you can over-identify with your work, and when it's not there, you feel like you're lost. Like if there's no service that you're doing or company that you're running or work that you're doing, it's like, why am I even alive? And Uranus is here to like shake this the fuck up and be like, hey, you are your own person, and this is like also a separate thing. It's not like as enmeshed as you think it is. And you are someone that is capable of doing these things. If you are an entrepreneur, I mean, and even if you are, and Uranus is probably calling you out to maybe consider that path in your 10th house, it's like even if something fails, that does nothing, that's not about your self-worth. But like you have the ability to create things, and that is something that is useful regardless of what you do in your life. And so that is what Uranus is shaking up there, um, with the Jupiter in the 12th house being activated, a house that is in aversion, meaning you can't see it from the ascendant. Then that Saturn Neptune that is activating your 8th house, another house that is in aversion, and then Pluto being in your 6th house, yet another house that is in aversion. So there's a lot of things that are probably oftentimes seemingly in the background and not as obvious are coming to the forefront right now, and that is pretty overwhelming. Like, if we're being completely honest, I feel like Virgo risings are really going through it this year. I will say I love Jupiter, the benefic planet, sitting in your 12th house because Jupiter is a protective planet. I think it can oftentimes shield us from these, more shitty topics from these harsher houses. So I do actually like that. Um, Yes, but I think it's very much, I think it's similar to Libra where a lot of like power dynamics are coming at play here. And then the cherry on top is just Chiron being there. And it's like, well, a lot of this is influenced by how you think about it. I think I can almost say the same thing here that I said it with Libra is like, we don't often see things as they are, we see things as we are. And you think you have it figured out, but it's like, no, maybe you're just seeing it as you think you are and not the actual, objective truth about something. Crazy statement, I know, but it can happen. Like, what are the chances that you are projecting? Like Neptune in the 8th house. Like, what the fuck are the chances that you're projecting? Oftentimes, pretty big.
Oftentimes, always. No, that's just
Almost
like
99% of the time.
that's just my experience like having like I quite literally the person that got me into astrology was a Virgo rising. So like I'm telling you when I say like they know their stuff. They do, but everything is from their point of view. And it's when, I believe thoroughly that Uranus and Taurus did a very good job of making them see things outside of what they believe it. But I think it was a little too harsh that it made them too rigid and had like low faith in humans. I really found a
Mm.
lot of Virgo risings being like, I hate people, but I like you. You have a great view of things. And I'm like, you like my Sagittarius energy. I'm sitting in your fourth house and I'm making you feel comfortable, but you should be that comfortable with the world, but they're not, and I think like that is where Chiron here in the ninth house, like you said, it's like it will target that projection because with Jupiter in the 12th, they're probably going to try and double down into that, I'm just what it is. And while that's cool, while it's amazing to hype yourself up, if you hype yourself up for the wrong reason before a fight, you can get your ass knocked out. But if you hype yourself up because you feel like you're ready and you're prepared because you've taken the time to look at yourself thoroughly, you have a better chance because both of them could just mean you're a good fighter, boxer, whatever, but you don't know your enemy. And not studying your enemy with the meticulousness of what they do is what's being called on, but being able to allow yourself to trust you can do this. You have the ability to be free and safe with people. So anywhere you go, you create the joy, the good time. And I think it's beautiful. And I do love the quote that you said about seeing you or the situation. And it's like a 4D point of view.
Yeah, it is. I think, having Taurus in the ninth house as Virgo risings. And luckily the ninth house is in a trine relationship to your rising, so that's a good thing. But it's also kind of really coming back to the point, I think, where it's like, take care of your body first. I mean, that's not a new thing, but it's also like, again, it can be super simple. Like maybe you don't have to also have this rigid ideas of like, oh, and this is how I, perfectly exemplify my routine. It's like maybe you just need a bit more walks. Maybe you just need to, maybe you just even need to go far away for some time. That's the
Not
ninth house. Like maybe just go on a bit of a far away vacation. To, where you're like at a nature retreat or something. There, Jupiter in that 12th house, I'm like, That's a great way to like go and have spiritual studies in a reclusive place. Like that's a 12th house too, and that's Jupiter, spiritual studies in the 12th house. Like maybe you
Mm.
need that to just shift your perspective on something, because sometimes, right, you need to move away. You're a Mercury sign, you're focused on the details. You need to move away, you need to see the bigger picture, and then the details will also make more sense. Because what is it? Is that only what we say in German? I'm not sure, but like, you're not um seeing the tree in no, I'm saying it completely wrong right now, but
I
not
promise you,
seeing
I
the
don't know German.
not seeing the forest because
Oh, oh, you can't see the trees from something like that. I know what you're saying.
yeah, we're butchering it right now, but yeah, we're butchering. Virgo is gonna hate us.
Wait, I gotta look this up because they will hate us. Okay, you were too focused on the granular details of a situation to grasp the broader overarching pictures, aka when you can't see the forest for the trees, you were stuck in the weeds, missing the main goal. Boom. Don't hate
Boom.
us, Virgo risings.
We said the quote correctly in the end.
Yes, yes. Um,
Great. That's how we're gonna finish it.
there we go. We love you guys. We believe in you. The kings and queens of the zodiac have appeared, and your number one hater is here. No, I'm just kidding. Could you imagine being an astrologer hating on a rising sign? I could never.
Oof.
But I know Leo risings know what hate is straight up. It's hard being a Leo rising, you know? You guys aren't even bad people, but you've had to learn to become the bad person so that way people can just get their projection off and go, right? Being a Leo rising is being someone that is tied to a legacy, having luscious hair, and being known for something that you probably didn't even want to be known for. And I got to be honest, I'm sorry. I know you guys had Uranus in there for a chock full of time, but it doesn't seem like we're done with the story. It's a different chapter, but I promise we're going to end the trilogy. So having Chiron sitting in your 10th house is going over that legacy. I truly believe that it talks about the end of the dynasty. When I think of the English group of people that exist in the beans on toast country, I think of the royal family. And all jokes aside, I really feel bad for them because just like we saw one of the brothers defect out of the family, I think it's really hard to just be in somewhere that you have to be associated to an identity that you can't leave. As a mutable moon, that is hell. I don't ever want to be seen the same way. Like that's so fucking
Mhm.
annoying. Like you think I'm this person forever? Like you don't see me for anything else besides that? Like I can't change. I'm growing older. I don't even have hair in the same place as I used to. Like I'm gonna be 70 and bald, and you can't see me for 70 and bald, and you still see me for 20, but 70 and with hair. Like it would be so weird to me. And that's how I have to say it for you to truly see how silly it is for you to feel like you have to prove yourself. This is your journey. I hate that I'm going to say this, but you guys are the main character, okay? And having a Leo rising means that you come from shit anyway, because I don't care what you say, but a fourth and 10th house that has Taurus or Scorpio, it's not a good time. There is stuff that you got to deal with, and it's never easy for you because, like we said, the Scorpio risings might have the worst of the T square. You guys got Pluto in that seventh house for a while. So I'm going to tell you right now, if you want to go through these next 20 years, Chiron is right here telling you that you won't get through anything if you're not going to be able to just love yourself, love your passion, love your career, love how you actually go through your own process. Because the public authority, the image you have, that doesn't matter what people say. It's all about you. And you guys are so fucking studious. I don't know a Leo rising that doesn't know their shit. And I think that's why they're so cool in conversation. I don't look to find a Leo rising. They find you. They always bring the value to you. And I really think they're the most kindest people ever. I've genuinely not met a Leo rising that I despised Because even if they weren't self-aware and they were more centered around these signs in their charts, they still cared about humans. They still knew someone that they could connect me to. Like they always had those resources. So I sit with all this and I'm like, wow, I'm happy you guys have Saturn in the ninth. So you realize that like you're learning for yourself, not for anyone else. Jupiter is sitting here saying you're the shit on your own and you don't have to prove whatever's been going on in that 10th house to be real because that's you. You got this. That's your pep talk. Thank you.
I mean, what immediately stands out when I look at this Leo rising chart is that everything is happening in the like upper section of
Hmm.
this chart, right? There's like practically no activity in the lower part. So that means that what is going on has a lot to do with other people, the public, things that are like outside, it's like the extroverted section of the chart. Well, yeah, except the 12th house, maybe, I agree.
Yeah.
And so, but again, I love that Jupiter is moving into your first house, after being there in the 12th house for like a year now. That is just probably a big like homecoming energy for you. It's definitely main character energy for sure. But then again, I think there's this. And also because the South Node is going to be there, like let's not forget that there's going to be a huge cluster of like Mars and the South Node and Jupiter in your first house. So there's like a lot going on there
Hmm.
with you, especially in the like autumn winter part of the year. And because of the eclipses that are going to be there, with the South Node eclipses are going to be there. I'm like something about around your identity is going to be shifting. It's going to be falling away. Maybe there's always, I think Leo's like the wisdom is like be yourself, but that's I think so much harder to actually do than it is to say it because like what even is the self? What does that mean? What does it mean that the kingdom of heaven is within oneself?
Hmm.
That's like, that's a whole big quest, which you're probably undergoing right now with Saturn and Neptune being in that ninth house of yours. Um, but there is going to be things that need to move away. And it's probably, again, these projections that you have probably around yourself and who you think you should be, or who you think the public wants you to be, or who you think other people want you to be. Uh, there's a lot. I think you being the zodiac sign also, a bit like Sag, I guess, associated with like well, if Sag is like the life, you're like the life of the party, and Sag is the party goer. Let's put it that way. But I know so many Leo risings that are like, I wish I had somebody know who I actually am, because I'm not just that. Like I'm not just this prestigious person that looks like I have it all figured out. Um, like I want people to know me for who I truly am. But it's like, do you know who you truly are? Like, are you getting to know yourself for who you truly are? Can you actually, who are you when you're in front of that mirror without your clothes, without anything? Can you look yourself in the eyes? Can you be honest about yourself? Because again, the kingdom of heaven is within you. So that it is a quest you're currently undergoing through. And yeah, Chiron in the 10th house is just gonna bring up these wounds around your like where have you been putting your worth in the hands of other people and dictate how they shape your life and which direction it's going. It's like, no, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be.
Uh, I love that. I think the kingdom in heaven is within you guys for sure. And I love that you brought that up. I drew it because I really feel like you just mapped out a really key thing, and it's the identity crisis of having a legacy built before you. Because if anyone's watched the TV show Lucifer, it's like, I'm sorry if I'm going to spoil it, but it's like one of the main characters finds out like God essentially makes them for a different character. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, what do you mean? And God makes them for the devil, right? Which is another character of the story. But then it's like the character is struggling to be like, So I have no purpose. So I was just made for this idiot, right? Like I'm just supposed to serve him because I'm his weakness. But, you're not realizing that you have such a fundamental impact on other people. And I think that is a story here that we see with the fire signs in your chart really pull apart to say, when you're not your identity through Chiron, when Saturn and Neptune ask you to learn something, but learn it for the joy of who you are you going to bring that light that is within yourself and not feel like you have to be multiple ways of being fun for people? Like you can actually just believe whatever you want and you don't have to have a reason for it. It can be the way you are. The only Leo risings that I know that don't have this issue are the ones that have prominent Capricorn placements. They are the ones that I've come to realize they're going to say whatever the fuck they want, or if they have Scorpio. But like these two specifically are like, I'm going to let you know I don't care. And for those of you that have Aquarius, realize this is your time to shine because the old hierarchy is gone. Even though that version of you is the one that everyone knows because you probably, while Uranus was in Taurus, just upped and left wherever you were because you wanted to be a new way. And you're like, I'm going to go back and show them how great I am. And it's like, you don't even have to do that. They could just see you at a Publix disheveled one day and still need to be able to realize you're just yourself, right? So I love
Yeah,
this for you guys.
I was like, y'all are literally going through the Barbie movie. Like
Oh,
that
yeah.
is a story. And like that Billie Eilish song of like, what was I made for? I'm like, yeah, that's your story arc right now. And I was just going through my phone to find the full quote of what I said before, and it's the kingdom of heaven is within you, and whoever shall know himself shall find it. Which was apparently, if this is true, an ancient Egyptian proverb. But don't take my word on
Mm,
that last part.
yeah.
I think that's really beautiful. I think that's like the highest expression of Leo.
Yeah. Knowing you're the shit and making sure you don't even have to let other people know. It's just going to be your energy.
Yeah, like you're ruled by the goddamn sun.
Yeah. Ah, okay. That's all for you
Great.
guys.
Love you guys.
Cancer risings, the most intelligent people in the zodiac. I don't think I'm gonna coin that because unlike some of us, I'm not gonna coin a term and then make actually I don't even want to say it because I mean God forbid. God forbid she wins and then this whole thing gets copyrighted. But um you guys are the smartest in the zodiac, and I won't coin that, but I do think it's true because I think your life experiences have made it so that you guys have gone through adequate enough trauma that you know how to deal with everything, right? I love that Uranus is in your 12th house. I think you guys, rightfully so, need to go insane. And you guys don't go insane enough, and you keep it all in. My favorite type of Cancer rising is the one that has a lot of Scorpio placements because we have a great time. We have a thorough reading. And the reason for that is because they're so reliable. But it's time to break that mold because for you guys, having Chiron in that house of community means this shit is not it anymore. And for a lot of you, going over the fact that in 2019, you essentially diminished, reduced, and got rid of unpurposeful people in your life, Chiron is here to make sure that the future is extremely bright. We don't want bottom tier, low vibrational people, foods, and activities. Okay? No dipping back in. That means that we are looking to make sure that the wounds that you have with belonging, just to be able to sit with people, don't come back. None of this bottom of the barrel mentality, like if you're around these sorts of people, this no, no, we demand more from you because just like the Leo risings, you guys have the sun in your tummies, in your throat. And it's very much about making sure that I'm not going out of my way to sit and eat with people that don't feed me. I need to make sure that when I speak, it has the truest intention of my heart, right? It's less about what other people's opinions are and more about what it is that you are whether it's you wanting to be a really big advocate for the community that you're in, but to also feel collectively whole within yourself. And so this Chiron, as we look at it, the sextile that it has, oh, not sextile, the square that it has to Pluto is going to force that. Because honestly, you're not going to be able to connect with people that has nothing to offer you. You're going to be so bored out of your mind. And that's why I love this Uranus. It's going to unleash the monster that you guys are. You guys are fucking brilliant. And I swear to God, they are so good at masking. They're really what the Scorpio risings think they are. Like it's just they have so much of an ability to camouflage, but also without being so bothered by other people because they want to enmesh, they want to be a part of it. But Jupiter's like, no, stand up, have some self-worth. When you get that square, you look at it straight in its eye and say, if it's not for me, I don't want it. I'm not going to work harder just to fit in, to justify, to keep the peace. Fuck all that. All right. It either makes sense or I'm just not going to be there. You won't see me at the wedding, the cookout, the party, whatever. I won't be there. I'll be to myself. That's it.
I'm just thinking of the image with like the crab and with the knife in its hands right now.
Yes, that.
Yeah. Yes. I think it's almost like you guys are having a bit of a I don't know, revenge, but I don't have a better word right now. Of like the shit you've been through last year when like we had that whole Mars retrograde story happening with you in
Hmm.
your first house. Like that was a lot. Um,
Yes.
yeah. I think there is, yeah, there is similar to which signs was it? I don't remember right now anymore. Was it like, anyways, whatever. But just like the fact, I feel like there's things that need to move away right now are moving away out of your life, are falling
Mhm.
outside of your life. Um, and if you don't see it, because, with cancers, there's often this like, the reason you hang on is because of the history, because of the emotional
Mhm.
history. And you feel like
Mhm.
you owe people something simply because they have been part of your life for a long time. And the astrology right now is just like, no, that does not have to happen. Just because someone has been with you through a lot does not mean they have to be with you in the next chapter of your life, or that you have to keep them around for the next chapter of your life. Like it's okay to close things for good, as well. And Chiron in that 11th house is just gonna make it a bit more obvious, and it's gonna sting. Like it's gonna literally sting you, and you're gonna
Mhm.
realize like, oh, actually, every time that I hang out with this group of people that I actually have outgrown 5 years ago, I feel so depleted. And I just want to retrieve back into my shell. You want to hang out with people that make you come outside of your shell, not that make you retrieve inside your shell. That is extremely important. And definitely, I feel like Saturn and Neptune in the 10th house are like not fucking around right now with you stepping up for yourself. I almost
Oh,
feel like, that Martian ruled 10th house is like sometimes you need to get like pushed into that corner where it's like, okay, now I have to attack because it's like life or death. But Saturn and Neptune right now, I feel like they're putting you in a position where it's like, okay, what if you do it just a little bit sooner? Like, what if you do it when you're not inside your corner, but just a little bit sooner, where you're not extremely fully threatened? Just a little bit sooner. What happens then? If you take that knife in your in your hand, you don't have to do anything with it, but just, for protection, I guess. Yes. Jupiter in that second house, is like that Leo second house is very much about like realizing, hey, the self-worth comes from within me. And like me sticking up for myself and me realizing that I'm the shit. Like really
yeah.
realizing that, I feel like you cancers don't hear or know that often enough. Similar to Virgo risings, I would say.
Yes. 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 I think Cancer risings are a gem, but they decide to stay in fakes. I don't know how to explain this. because it's something in Creole, but it's like it's this belief that like if you hang around people that are fake enough, you will downgrade. You will go from gold to whatever. And I think that Cancer risings are always doing that. Now, for a lot of their childhood, I understand it because especially like, even if it's not something that you have natally, just think of the fact that Capricorn, it's been the ruling energy. And because you guys are always, like you said, sticking with people that hang on way longer than they should be allowed to, Capricorn was like, all right, we got to put you through some sort of pain so you're uncomfortable with this shit so you don't do it again. For the people that have Pluto and Libra, for the people that have Jupiter, Venus, Mars in Libra, and it's sitting in that fourth house, them especially, they had to learn that. And with the intelligence that they hold, it's because the third and 12th, that square. Like, I know you guys have thought of everything. I know you guys are probably like, yeah, you're right. I wrote this down in my journal back in 2021 when that person broke up with me when Saturn was transiting my eighth, and I realized maybe my parental issues with my father led to this, or this. And it's just like, you done had therapy before you even had therapy. But it's like, but to what end are you finally going to accept this? And I think that's why I love this Chiron transit, because it's like you were the shit. That Jupiter in the second house, you were the shit. But now you're gonna be like a Ferrari surrounded by cars getting ready to be crushed. Are you going to sit there? Like if a vehicle gets impounded that is illegal, in most states, they just crush them or they try to sell it. Are you going to allow your greatness to be sold off, pawned off, crushed, destroyed because you are so content with sitting in that junkyard? Like, why? There's so much more for you. So I believe in you guys. And I better not see any of you wanting readings about a partner that clearly doesn't fucking love you or friends that don't give a damn about you. No. That is it. You better be talking to me about career or self-worth. That's the only thing I want to talk about.
Oh my God. When the 11th, the 8th, and the second house are getting activated by T square, I'm just like, there is so much at play again here when it comes to the power dynamics and like the resources, like what you owe versus what somebody owes you, and like the quiet, contracts that are unspoken, but that absolutely exist in friend groups. And, sometimes we put friend groups in this, like, there's like the relationship, the romantic relationship, and then there's friend groups. But they are equally as important. They're the things, like the friends are the people that carry you through life, and you should absolutely have amazing people around you. And, and friendship breakups can sometimes sting even much more than like relationship breakups. And this is just gonna make you like very aware of where these unspoken things ring absolutely true. Where have you been, swishing things under the rug and like neglecting your needs and just like, oh no, it's not that serious. Like I don't actually need that from you. Like it's okay. And it's like, no, absolutely the fuck not. Because I'm thinking of these boundaries, right? It's like such an overused word over the past 2 years, but essentially friends that call you up just if they need something from you because they know that you won't say no, because they know that you will say yes, because you will drive them to the airport at 2 a.m. in the morning, because you will pick up that thing from the library. And it's like, well, they're going to continue doing that if you continue allowing that to happen. And these are these little contracts, Pluto in the eighth house, that start happening. And then these power balance or imbalances start happening in these groups we have around ourselves until you step up, like until you step the fuck up. And that's Jupiter and Leo in your second house. So that's what Jupiter and Leo definitely wants you to do.
I love that. I was
Amazing
drawing a little
drawing.
animation of showing that, like, unlike where in most, dynamics, you see people having an even or a healthy, like, distribution where it's like even. I really feel like a lot of the Cancer risings, like when you said driving someone to the airport, I've caught a Cancer rising friend doing that before. And I'm just like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, well, I gotta drive to this state to help this person. What? I could barely drive 2 hours for myself. Like if something is past 2 hours, I have to love that person. And it's like a whole state, like you're driving that far, and so they never get the reciprocation of what they actually need, like most healthy friendships, and they're convinced that it's real. And I'm just like, you're getting taken advantage of, but you're so convinced this is real because they've just been here long enough. And so that's why I'm like, you guys might be the smartest in the rising, but you were the most easily manipulated because you consider that you doing these things and you know the depth of the person, just like the Virgo risings, that you're just like, I know everything, but it's like, no, you're being played. Even if that person's dumb, they're still getting from you. Like, don't, don't do it. Don't play these games. It's not, doesn't look good on you. Yeah.
That's on period.
Okay. Let's dive into my current progressed rising. Gemini.
Heck yeah,
Hmm.
Gemini.
All right. Is this okay? All right, cool. Gemini risings. I am stoked because I think you guys need this. Saturn right now is transiting Aries, and this sucks. Like it's actually just like the flame is gone. And the flame that you hold is like, I love people. I get my energy from people. You know, I have this as a progress rising, and then natally I'm a Taurus rising. And Saturn, when it was in Pisces, was in my 11th house. And now in this current transit, it's in my 11th. And it feels the exact same to the idea that people are fading into the background. And I have to pinpoint that out because when you don't have toys, when you don't have distractions, if you're not using any sort of drug or you're not using a sex addiction or you're not like finding a way to overwork with yourself, all you're doing is being stuck on your own with you. And that is the true thing here. What do you do when it's just you? What are you going to try and learn? What are you going to say to yourself to give yourself the love that you need? Whereas with the Cancer risings and the Leo risings and the Virgo risings, that axis, Cancer, Leo, and Virgo, is typically 4, 5, and 6. And that's all about you and family and the things that you take care of day to day. So when I look at you guys in terms of your risings, unlike that group of three, you're a part of that first three, which is all about self. So for each and every one of you, meaning Aries, Taurus, and Gemini, it's going to be about yourself. And for you being the last of the third triplicity, I guess you could say, of that, what are we doing? That's really what like Uranus and Taurus went through to say, I got to rush, I'm falling behind. I don't know if I compare to my peers, because Neptune in here was having you work towards this dream that's like it doesn't make any sense and you're like, but I still got to do it because it's my 10th house. And Uranus was here in your 12th house and it was like it's all about the money. I refuse to be broke. Funny thing that I've come to realize is Gemini Rising's got a stash of about 5 figures of wealth somewhere. I don't know how it's just like it's a part of them. They have hustled their way into success. But once they got to the top, and very unfortunate for the ones that were still in school, when Uranus went through Taurus, it's like it doesn't hit because your Venusian side of you was in fear. It was in survival. And that shit is literally done now. It's like, I want to thrive. So if it means I got to work 9 to 5 in corporate America, I'm going to move somewhere where rent is $200 and find a way because for my own true value of well-being, I don't want this. And that is the big thing. This wound is something that neither me or Amiya know. It's not going to be something that we can tell you. You
Hmm.
know what it is. Because in that 12th house, it has produced itself to be material safety and physical self-worth. I have always said that Gemini rising people, you don't know they're that because one, they dress well, and two, they are, I'm not gonna say androgynous, but they are like, I feel like they're humans 2.0 because they look great and then also they can look menacing. They embody the masculine and the feminine. And it's like when you think about Mercury, mercurial energy, like especially in Vedic astrology, like Gemini is a bastard child, right? Mercury is androgynous. It's always shape-shifting. Why is it always shape-shifting? Because the Gemini rising will show you all it cares about is its safety. It doesn't want to be in danger. And that's why, you guys have the biggest task right now to surrender to the fact that everything everyone else is doing, there's some silly people that can't relate with you. Like that can't align with you because none of that matters the same way it does for you, right? It's over. Everything else, transits that you're dealing with, it's all about finding the true meaning of what it is that you need through people in the future with Neptune, but it's like you have to find it first by yourself. And then you'll be able to tell yourself the correct things to boost yourself up because Uranus is like, listen, we're changing. We're going to be a whole different person. I expect you guys to go from one Tumblr aesthetic to one Pinterest aesthetic through the process of literally changing websites. Like that's how drastic it has to be. So, yeah.
Wow, you just described my brother to a T. But also, yes, I mean, the fact that, the 12th, the ninth, and the third house are being emphasized with like the T square happening there for you, Geminis,
Mhm.
is just there's so much thoughts and thinking and all these invisible processes, which they're familiar to you. You're a Mercury ruled sign, and like Uranus there isn't making it easier. Um, but like the third and the ninth house and the 12th house, they're just kind of a bit intangible. Like maybe the third house is the most tangible out of all of them, but still, it's like so ungraspable. And,
Mhm.
and it's almost like an invisible process you're going through because it's happening in the mind. It's happening in
Mhm.
like the subconscious spheres of your mind, probably even through your dreams. Like a lot of this stuff might be coming through your dreams. You might be inclined to do dream work in therapy or just like go really deep into your psyche and understand like where these
Mhm.
self-worth wounds are actually really, really coming from.
Mhm.
Yes, and at the same time, you're also going to realize that, every new door leads to another door, and there's millions of doors that can be opened, and it can almost be, I don't know, an enigma in and of itself of, I don't know, getting stuck in the labyrinth of the mind here.
Mhm.
Like especially with Pluto in the ninth house, there's like an urge to overanalyze everything, understand where your beliefs are coming from. And that's all good and true. But again, at the end of the day, you said this in the beginning. It's like we could say the same thing we said about Leo. It's like, who are you when you're naked in front of the mirror and there is no
Mhm.
echo coming from the outside? It's just you
Yeah.
and your mind and your thoughts. That's it. What's going on there? What's happening then? What's cracking then? Is it a fun place to be or does it suck? And that's kind of what's happening here, especially with like Saturn and Neptune also being in your 11th house. There's like a real restructuring when it comes to the groups you hang out with. You might have also been hanging out with people where it's like just not that fulfilling. You're kind of known to have your friend groups, which is nice and fun, but Saturn and Neptune there now are like, okay, but who's actually going to be there when shit hits the fan? Are these friends actually the people that are going to be at your hospital bed? Not saying that everybody has to be, acquaintances are cool and they exist for a reason. But if your life is filled with acquaintance type of relations around you, that's not the place we want to be because you want to have people around you that are also going to stick up to you when things aren't that much fun. And I do think things aren't kind of going to be that much fun right now for you. They're like, I feel like a Gemini, you're like at the verge of like, and that's probably because Uranus is in your first house. And it's just, Uranus for me is always like balancing between the line of like breakdown and breakthrough. And like you never really know which way it's kind of gonna go. And so it's like And you being like the embodiment of trickster energy, it just feels so much of like, oh, well, where's it gonna go? Is it gonna be breakdown? Is it gonna be breakthrough? Maybe one week it's this and the other week it's the other thing. And it's gonna be it entirely depends on you and how much fun this process is gonna be or is not gonna be. Um, yes. Just, the fun part about Gemini is that it's not really definable. And the unfun part about Gemini is that it's not really definable. So,
Yeah. Yeah. You guys are an enigma that will not be fully outlined. Um, I had a friend that graduated from law school. And while I was first like knowing her, she was in it. And I was like, I'm an astrologer. She's like, oh my gosh, look at my chart. And I was just like, you don't want to know. And she was like, what? And I'm like, I don't know if you're gonna really even care about this 3 years from now. And this was like towards the end of Uranus
mm,
going through, she has Aquarius placement, so bright, studious person. And I kid you not, last year when Uranus went into Gemini, she actually reached out and she's like, can I actually book a session with you? Because everything feels insane right now. And I don't even know if I want to even finish graduating. And we talked about it.
mm,
Saturn was having like shifted into the 11th. And then when it went back into the 10th, I was like, finish your degree because I think that's important, especially because you got in. And then from there, find out what you want to do. Maybe you just practice for 2 days out of the week, even if it gives you the same pay as a teacher, which sucks, by the way. I just want to say that that's not a burn on teachers, but we know like teachers get paid a lot less, even though what they have as value is significantly more. And so maybe accept a lesser pay or don't work at all. And still with that, find a way to make your life meaningful because no one can paint this for you. I'm sorry. I wish I had the answer, but no one's gonna know. It's just you.
yeah, and slow down.
Yeah.
Like Taurus 12th house, I'm like, slow down. It's very hard with having Uranus in the first, but
Yeah.
I'm thinking of this image where uh, if the water is stormy, you're not going to see the reflection. You're not going to see things clearly unless you sit
Oh,
down and calm your mind. And it's like that, you have to kind of do
okay.
that. It's like super uncomfortable, especially with Uranus in the first, but otherwise it's just going to be super difficult to go through these like icky Chiron in the 12th house topics. Like you kind of got to have a clear mind to actually like go there. And I know you're gonna want to stay on the surface because it's uncomfortable going that deep, but like that's it's the only way out is through. Like the only way out is through your mind, and that's that T square between the 12th, third, and ninth house.
That's fire. That that
I'm
that's
that fan.
that's so fire. Like that could be like a bar because quite literally, you guys haven't even had clear water at all in a while. When Neptune was in your 10th house, it was damn near polluted. And you didn't really know why you were doing what you were doing. You were just focused on your sixth house of Scorpio, like, well, I can't lose. If everyone's competing, I gotta fit in. And that third house of ego was like, yeah, I gotta do this. But now that Uranus isn't in the 12th to disrupt that sixth. Uranus is in the first that's asking you to look into that seventh, and it will disrupt that 10th, the image you had before. It's going to basically melt away, freeze, whatever, but it's going to dissociate, dissimulate, and dissolve into the true version of you, which we will be leading into the next sign after this, where we do talk about the truest version of you. Taurus risings. I just want to give you a little. I love you guys. This is water, but clearly it looks like a glass of champagne. And with this glass, I really think we should talk about how amazing life is right now for you guys. Because unbeknownst to you, you are the blueprint. And I think you've been misguided by that. I think you didn't even realize that because unbeknownst to you, you've not known peace. Pluto has either been transiting, if you are old enough, from your seventh, eighth, ninth, but now your 10th. Uranus entered your first house, and after wreaking havoc on your 12th house, who are you really? Neptune's been in your 11th in Pisces, and now Uranus is sitting in your second in Gemini. I can confidently say for all Taurus risings, we love humans, but we don't need humans. Just like the Scorpio risings, they don't need another person to be codependent on to be successful. And a lot of that sits with the location of Sagittarius in either the eighth or the second house for both. We have everything that we need. Scorpio risings learn to find that within themselves, and Taurus risings bring that to other people for them to notice that. And so, for this reason, as Saturn transits your 12th, who are you really? Do you know that just like the Leo risings, you are the shit? Do you know how valuable and amazing that you are? Do you know how great it is to be you? There is no predefined idea, identity, archetype that you have to sit and settle into because your 10th house will always deviate you from the norm. Your seventh house will always cause your relationships to look different. And you come from, like all the other fixed signs, some sort of fucked up situation. And this one especially desires you to be anything but the true, authentic self that you are. I'm not saying run away from the traumas of the fourth house and try to be the weirdest kid on the school bus, but I do think it's time to accept, like, you are that shit. All of my Taurus risings are honorary astrologers. All of my Taurus risings should get all the food they desire. You guys should be getting the nap you need. You guys should be getting the love and the joy that you guys desire. But you don't do it for yourselves. You are always burdening yourself with everyone else's shit. And just like the Cancer risings that want to be in a community, you guys suffer from that 11th house in a water sign. The Capricorn risings that don't give themselves rest, Taurus risings, nothing else is anything of a problem besides your well-being. You, just like the Libra risings, are ruled by Venus. Unlike the Libra risings, it is not your responsibility to have to connect with people to get things done. You just have to love yourself. I'm not saying to isolate. I don't think you guys could ever fully isolate. People love you. But remember, like, you are the uniqueness that you bring to the table. Nothing else. You being there is bringing food over to a party, right? You're bringing your joy, your energy, and that is so amazing. So as Jupiter enters your fourth house, realize it's not the makings of what's around you. It's you. You create the energy. You're a vibe. You're a good time. I've never seen an unsexy Taurus rising. Every Taurus rising I've ever seen is drop dead gorgeous, men and women included. There's just no faults. And this is the type of energy I want you to walk around with because the Aries 12th house has been too much and you have been too tired doing everything else for everyone else. And that's what Chiron was trying to teach you in that 12th house. That's what Saturn's teaching you in the 12th house. That's what Uranus was teaching you in the 12th house. But as Uranus went through that first and now Chiron comes in, it's like I had to disrupt you and make you try all these different things so that now you realize none of that shit mattered. None of it defines you. And you can go back to being the person you were before, but not being that person. But you could sit in the energy of what you are. The version of you when you were younger that maybe enjoyed things on its own and didn't need people, love to do this and that, was not on social media. Go back to that with the knowledge that you know now, creating the healthy boundaries. I know that you guys love helping and giving and all that, but fuck all that, okay? Jupiter in the fourth house. We have healed the traumas. We are the shit. And I just want to toast you guys because we got this. That's all I got.
Okay, I'm gonna do the not so nice segment now. Just kidding. No, just kidding. But I feel like a lot of the, similar to like Libra risings that have the Venusian Taurian eighth house, well, you'll have the Venusian Libran sixth house. And that's also a
Yeah.
house that's an aversion to your rising. And so, of course, there's like this urge to like define yourself, but what you can do or offer to other people. And like
Yes.
stemming that worth from that place, which yeah. I mean, I'm staring here at this and it feels like I have this quote here. It feels like right to read this. When you honor your gifts, they start to bloom. When you see yourself, your magic awakens. I feel like that's so true for Taurus risings right now. And again, you'll have been through a lot. I think Chiron there is just gonna poke around in this wounds where you're still trying to pull that worth from somewhere else and not from you, where you feel like it's I'm still only worthy if I'm being able to provide for other people or the jobs that I do or like what I can offer physically or materially. I'm like, no. Chiron is gonna be like, no. Or I mean, or yes, I don't know. It's gonna just make you aware of where these wounds are. Like, cause like it's in yourself. You know, like if Chiron is in the first house, there is something, and Chiron in the first is tricky. I mean, I have this placement natally in my natal chart, and there is the fact that it's the wounded healer, there is something that Chiron cannot do for itself, right? And so the icky part about like Chiron in the first house is that is yes, like one part of you is like you have to love yourself, and then the other part is like part of that wound can only be healed through co-regulation from somebody else. And like that's the icky part about Chiron in the first house is that you have to do the embarrassing thing of opening yourself up to a person and letting that person like look that wound straight in like it's full on icky glory. Because you cannot heal that shit just by yourself. Like it's impossible. That's all the wounds of Chiron. Cannot heal himself. Um, but it's the study of going there. And I also wouldn't be surprised if you undergo like a period, like, you had this whole disruption period of Uranus there. And now it almost feels like there's an urge to bring more steadiness back into your life, maybe about a different kind of self-inquiry. I mean, with Uranus, there wasn't even the question of self-inquiry. Everything was just being thrown at you. And it's like, whoa, have you thought about this? How about you being this person? And now this person, and all of that. And now it's
Mhm.
like, okay, now I think the power is more back into your own hands where you're like, okay, I can go onto that healing journey because I choose to go on it, not because Uranus is imposing it on me and pushing me out of my comfort zone, which I really like for you. So, despite the fact that, Chiron in the first is not like the most pleasant thing to go through, I do think just the fact that you will be able to go through that with like the feeling that like I'm doing this because I genuinely want to, not because it is expected of me, will feel in a way healing in and of itself. I will say that. Yes. Do I have, I mean, having Saturn and Neptune in your 12th house is also maybe not like the easiest and most sexy placements for them to go through, but there is a lot of, I think, also spiritual inquiry of trying to like, I don't know, find meaning through the larger things than yourself. And maybe also a lot of well, it's just interesting having a Mars ruled 12th house because there is something about like, okay, where do I need to actually step up for myself? I'm sorry, I feel like that last sentence didn't make fully sense, but
No, no, it's true. It's true. Where do I need to step up for myself is everything. And even the quote you said, like you are the magic, and Chiron going through your first house will teach you that you are the magic, and it's through other people being there for you that will show you that. Because while that seed will blossom, they will water you. not the other way around. And I think when you pointed out the sixth house aspect of, Taurus to that sixth house, it's really important that you realize every value that you have is internal because everything that you speak, your environment, your actions bring to people. Your presence heals people, whether it's all the different things you've ADHD'd yourself into learning. You make a giant like compile of these ideas and you heal, you love, you give, you speak from that resource. You are always doing a million things a day that people become very reliant on you because you're constantly showing up. You have all these ideas of what it is that you want for yourself so that when people see you, they realize you're not so like sucked into the idea of wealth, right? You are sucked into the idea of making sure people get the best. And you now need to give all of these traits that you keep like bringing out, just like Cancer risings, and you rotate it back to yourself. And that's where like I have Chiron conjunct my sun, and I get that being in the seventh, it's like I'm always giving to someone else, and it feels as though with the past few transits, it's very much been like, okay, but what do you get in return? And unlike like you said, Uranus being in Taurus, that shit felt forced. Like I done moved states, I changed careers, I did this, I did that, I traveled, I did so many things in such a cramped amount of time that like I've sat back and looked at my about like 20, like 18, like through 26, and I'm like, damn. I've been to so many countries. I've done this. I've started this. I went here. I know this. I've done so much that I think that I lived a whole lifetime in the past 8 years with this transit. So now, like, I don't feel like I got to rush it. Like I'm going to take the time to build everything. And that's what, for a lot of you guys, the most traumatic thing has been Saturn has been feeling like it's reducing, right? When Saturn was in Pisces and Aries, it feels like, or even like the 10th, it feels like it just was like crashing or tumbling things. Like things felt good and then it got really gray. But it's like, in a matter of 8 years, you experienced a cycle that would take people 80 years to go through. And you experienced that in 2 year intervals, especially when Saturn was in Aquarius. I think that was creating a peak, whereas 2023 and onwards, when Saturn went into that Pisces area, it feels like it kind of peaked to go like down now. Let me actually draw this better. But like I'll draw half of the peak with Aquarius, and then when Saturn was in Pisces, it feels like it's going down. And now Saturn in Aries is going to get you back to that state of comfort and relaxation because that is really where you need to be. It's on your time. No fast walking. At the start of this video, I was like, I just eat food. And I mean, before our break, I was like, I just eat quickly. I don't savor. And it's like when you said how, having it in the first, you need someone else to show you. That was one of the first few things my wife told me. She's like, "You're not even savoring your food. Like, what are you doing?" And I started realizing, like, I eat just to fuel myself. Like, I wouldn't give a damn about what it was. I would just eat anything. And it's like, I'm not a cow, right? Like, I need to actually take in what I'm eating. And so I slowed down and I ended up eating ice cream for breakfast as well. But it's like, so what? Like take your time and take that in. And not to deviate off point, I think that's what the Taurus risings need to hear, right? You're on your time, and I promise you, it's going to feel like life is tremendously slowing down for you as everyone else's life feels like it's accelerating. And that's
Mm,
where you diverge from the rest of the collective for the next couple of years.
I fully agree. Yeah. It's definitely a
Sexy.
different time. And even when Saturn is going to move into your first
Yeah.
house in, what is it, 2028? Or
Hmm.
that's, that's also going to further propel that. But yeah, I don't have anything more specifically to add to that.
Wow. I saved the best
Amazing.
for last. So, what can I say?
Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that. We did it in like a different direction.
Yeah. Got to keep them on their toes. Thank you
I'm
so
sure
much for
Pisces,
watching.
I'm sure Pisces was like, "What? I'm coming second?"
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Great. Well, maybe close the the
Oh,
window so we can be big on the screen again.
yes. Where is that button? Stop sharing. There we go. And
Amazing. So
we did it.
we did it. Yeah, thank you everyone for sticking around and watching. If you have enjoyed this, please feel free to leave a like and a comment. Like, let us know what your rising sign is and if what we have spoken on to rings true for you. If you have any further comments that you want to make, or what you have been going through, or what you have been noticing that we weren't able to tell because, right, everyone's chart is so individual, let us know down in the comments below or even on Instagram. And yeah, thanks for joining and doing this with me, Liv. Let everyone know where people can find you if they want to connect with you.
I'm gonna be somewhere on vacation, so don't come looking for me. I'm just kidding. Um, my website is combustastrology.com. Um, I don't know when you're uploading this, but I'm definitely taking a little bit of a nice break for the summer. And I mean, if you need to like schedule a consultation or something, it will be on my website, and whatever is open, I will be available. But for the most part, I don't know that there's much I could tell you other than to rewatch this video because we dropped the nuggets. But thank you so much for having me.
Yes, definitely rewatch it. Like, because this is, again, this year Chiron is just entering Taurus. Chiron is going to retrograde back into Aries. And next year, like watching that video next year again, is going to have a different feel than it does right now. And oftentimes, I feel like maybe we say a few things and it's like watching this like monthly tarot forecast for the month
Hmm.
ahead, and you're like, okay,
Yeah.
interesting, and then you watch it again and you're like, whoa, okay, everything makes so much more sense now that I'm in the trenches. I'm pretty sure that's gonna feel like that. I am planning on releasing this video before like briefly before Chiron ingresses into Taurus, so that should be like in the coming 2 weeks. So yeah.
Yeah.
Not
Thank you.
yet holiday time fully, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much for joining. If people want to engage with me, I'm Amiya under Resonance Astrology, wherever you can find it, Instagram, YouTube. That's pretty much where I'm on. There is no other platform. And my website is also under Resonance Astrology. It's currently under construction, but if you want any readings, you can always email me. But yes, it does take a few extra steps right now to get through to me. So yes, but my website should be up and running probably, at the time Jupiter moves into Leo in my 10th house. Hopefully,
Mhm.
that would be amazing. So yeah, that's what we have for you guys. Thanks again for doing this, Liv, and we're gonna leave you with that. Bye, everyone.
Bye.